Well, first of all, thank you for taking my call. I
Of
listen to
course.
you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing and helped me so far. What the challenge I'm facing now is I have $300,000 worth of debt, and I can't see a way out.
Everybody just hold. And this is why I need my soundboard turned on. Everybody just hold. She said, you guys are amazing. You've, quote, and I'm quoting, you've helped me out so far, and I'm in $300,000 worth of debt and can't find my way out. Family, is it just me, or is something not connecting? Is the math not mathing? I'm just saying. Thank you for helping me. But by the way, I'm $300,000 in debt.
I'm working 3 jobs, and it just doesn't seem to work.
Wow. Well, break it down for Jade here. So start off with your income through the 3 different jobs. Give us a range, and then walk her through your debt.
My salary position, I bring in 80. I'm sorry, my salary is 80. I bring in 80, and then I net.
Well, no wonder she's $300,000 in debt. She can't get her salary correct. You know what, family? It may be just me, but I'm thinking she just might be a little bit on the panicked side. She sounds like she's been running a marathon. Just saying.
55 when you take out tax and insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a second job that I gross 40, but then I'm an independent contractor, so I have to take out taxes and stuff. So I net about 30 to 35,000.
Good.
And then I have another part-time job that brings in about $600 a month.
Okay.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am wondering when she sleeps. But what I'm wondering more of, was this debt worth it? Remember, I'm listening to this for the first time with you. I just go by the title. And of course, if you don't wish to have the commentary, you can always go into the description box and play the video uninterrupted. But I do wonder, holding 3 jobs. Now, this little $600 one, I would say that's not a big deal. Unless, of course, you're holding 2 other jobs, and then all of a sudden the $600 a month job that should seem painless is actually very painful because you're doing it on top of 2 other jobs. Wow. There's a lot of debt, folks.
So 72 on the 85. So you're somewhere in that 92, 93 range with those numbers. Is that right?
Closer to 90, I think, Ken.
Net?
Yeah. I mean, that sounds amazing, but that's, yeah.
Yeah, but you can do something with that.
Yeah.
Dr. Jade is in today, so it's going to be okay.
I'm going to pretend like you didn't say that. So
The debt doctor, no?
okay,
See
I'll
what
take
I'm
that. The
doing?
debt
You didn't know
doctor.
what I was doing.
I didn't know where you were
Come
going.
on.
Sarah, now that I know where he's going,
You can do surgery on this.
I can help you.
There you go.
So you're bringing in almost $8,000 a month, which ain't too shabby.
Unless, of course, you're $300,000 in debt. Okay? Remember, it's not what we make, family. It's what we take home. And then, or what is it? It's what we keep. All right? It's not what you make. It's what you keep. And then, of course, it's all dependent also on that debt to income, that DTI ratio. It's great to make good money, but if I'm running 3 jobs like this young lady is, what's her name? Sarah in Detroit, Michigan. Okay? I don't need to have a quote unquote, I guess, good paying income or great paying income, as they're saying, if I'm going to be carrying $300,000 in debt. I don't want it. Hey, Carrie, you can make really good income at around $90,000 a year, but by the way, you're going to have to get out of $300,000 of debt. No, thank you.
But you've got $300,000 of debt, so walk us through this debt.
It's all student loans.
Oh, family, it is all student loan debt. Oh, jeez. Okay, breathe, everybody, breathe. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Okay, I know Papa Ramsey is not here, but we're gonna ask it. Who's the doctor or lawyer? And you better be like a heart surgeon, a neurosurgeon, something along those lines. It is all student loans. For those who may have just joined this channel recently, I had my $110,000 student loan paid off by the taxpayers. Thank you very much. Okay, for the $110,000 for my double masters, and I've been a teacher I'm in my 19th year, and the student loan got forgiven 16 years after teaching. So in 2022, I completed my 16th year of teaching, and that's when the student loan got forgiven. I could have never paid it off. Now, of course, I'm doing it as a school teacher. But she has this $300,000 debt. You know, the runaway interest on it, on $300,000 is, well, it's really much a runaway train. She sounds as though she doesn't have control of this debt. I mean, like I said, she literally sounds like she's running a marathon. This is all student loan. It is non-bankruptable. I'm speechless. 300,000.
Okay. Private? Federal?
I have $12,000 with private. I will have those hopefully paid off by December.
Good.
The rest.
Remember, this just ran 3 days ago, so she's talking this December. 12,000 paid off. Which, when you put it on the backdrop of 300 grand,
300,000 is all government.
Okay.
What was it for? I'm just curious.
I went to law school.
And are we practicing law?
no.
Yes.
Oh,
Do
And
you
that's
like it?
that's the number one amount of money you gave us. What kind of law are you doing?
Yeah, I do estate planning, probate stuff.
Gosh, it feels like we've got a path to be making a whole lot more than that. Am I right, or are you feeling like you're capped out, and why?
No, you hit the nail on the head. I've been looking on Indeed and stuff, and I'm that's actually the average pay for where I live, and it's pretty. It's hard to deal with because
$80,000 is the gross average pay of where she lives. Well, she is talking about, I think it's probate and stuff. I think she said she's not talking about, I'm out, to go become a corporate lawyer, smash all the little people.
I do feel that I should earn more, but it's about average.
That's horrible pay. I make $63,000 gross as a school teacher. With my little side gig, I make about $70,000. That's what I grossed in 2023 with my little side gig. And of course, all the money I make on YouTube. I mean, that's getting me at least a Starbucks a day. Literally. Well, not literally, but but yeah, the money is it. What I'm trying to say is, folks, is I do YouTube because I love you all, not because it nets me anything. So she's saying that after spending $300,000 in law school, the most she can make for her area is $80,000. That is a pitiful amount compared to the debt that you have to take out. Very much like what school teachers go through. It's the amount. You know how many teachers you guys have $200,000 in PhD debt? Usually because they got their PhD and their masters, back to back. They went to some private school, yada yada, private or not. Okay, it almost doesn't matter. Certain debt is debt. The only thing that's better about federal debt is there's a chance for better payment plans. There's a chance for, much better chance for forgiveness if your area qualifies. She wants to get out of this debt. She needs to go practice nonprofit law for 10 years and she can have it wiped out in loan forgiveness as the law stands now. But who knows, with administration changing and stuff, we already know the SAVE plan family is, sunk, saving on a valuable education. That's pretty much going by the wayside. And I don't think that's coming back. No, it's not completely gone, but I don't think it's going to be sticking around very long. So $300,000 to make basically $10,000 more than what a middle school teacher makes.
Is there anything keeping you tied to the Detroit area?
Family, yeah.
Family is important, but when you are sitting on $300,000 in student loan, is your family willing to help pay the bill? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be cruel in any way, all right? But sometimes we put ourselves in a financial position where we must move, at least for a while, until we can earn our debt-free or at least, financially controlled wings. If we're going to sit and we're going to say, I'm not moving, this is where I'm at because I have family here, well, my question is your family helping to pay the bill? And if family is not helping to pay the bill, then at least for a few years, you may be required to leave family, stretch your wings, go someplace else. The other thing, too, is did she do, and we already know the answer, did she do any research on what this degree would pay to stay near where family is? I doubt she did that. And look, there's nothing wrong being where family is, but if your attitude is, and again, I don't shame it, I see nothing wrong with it, I'm not moving, this is where my family is, this is where I want to stay. Great. Now then, How are you going to adjust your life so you don't financially screw yourself over because you refuse to move? So if taking on a $300,000 law degree to stay where family is, but yet go broke, and remember, you can't go bankrupt on this. And can you imagine how astronomical the monthly interest must be? It has to be out of this world. Absolutely out of this world, what the monthly interest on, let's say it, more than $250,000 in debt. This is why it is so critical that we do not take on student loan debt that is more than what we can comfortably pay off. And before we sit there and we go, oh man, you know what, I'm willing to bet she was sitting there going all gung-ho for the degree. Yeah, I'm going to be a lawyer. And she did it. She ran up $300,000. But part of what kills our mojo, in my opinion, okay, after you graduate, it is different going to school, racking up the debt that you don't have to pay off yet, and to be excited about that carrot dangling in front of you. Okay, I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to do whatever it takes in school so I can get that degree. It changes drastically after you've gotten the degree, and now you have to work to pay it off. And the fun times of, that fun carrot dangling in front of you is just now nothing but a great big bill saying, pay up. I strongly believe that when students say things like, oh, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this degree. I will work day nights. Heck, let's take, what's her name here? Sarah in Detroit, Michigan. I wrote my notes down on here, okay? Sarah, I can bet you at one point Sarah said, oh yes, I will take on 3 jobs. I'll take one job that pays, $80,000 gross. I'll take another job that pays a gross of 40, and I'll take another job that pays 600 because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this degree. At one point, I'm willing to bet you Sarah was willing in her head to go through all that. And now she's got the degree, and it's kind of like, it's time to pay up on that degree, and now it becomes, I'm just burned out. Well, yeah, you are burned out. Law school's difficult, but honey, the work is just starting. I don't know when she graduated. I don't think I missed it. So I don't know if she's a recent graduate or whatnot, but to say you're burned out, honey, you can't afford to be burned out. You're looking down the barrel at more than $250,000, and if you're refusing to move, that's just going to keep going up, up, up.
But that's extremely part-time. But I really want to try to pivot out of practicing.
I get it.
Let's continue. She wants to pivot out of what she just ran up a $300,000 bill for. Yikes, it's not even my bill and I'm hurting. I got chest pains just feeling it. That's not even my bill.
But I'm about ready to hand it to you, Jade.
No problem.
But you got $300,000 in law school debt. I don't think you get the burnout yet.
You know what? That is exactly what I said. That is exactly what I was saying. Yeah. God love TikTok, okay? But, you get people, they're like 24 years old going, oh man, I just can't handle this 9-to-5 work. Hey, you haven't earned it. Hell, I haven't earned it yet, and I'm 57. So there's just that, makes me wonder actually if she felt like she had to go to law school. Clearly to get through law school, you've got to put in the study and the time and pass the bar, yada, yada. But somewhere along the line, she didn't want this anymore and perhaps thought she had to go through with it. So basically, she's got a $300,000 degree and she doesn't want anything to do with it. And don't forget, family, this is the pure reality. I don't know if she's married or not, but a lot of student loan debt can hamper your chances at relationships. I did a video, and I'll try to remember to link it down. I'll write myself a note, in fact, right now. I carry a little notepad right here by my desk. I did a video on a guy who, he peeled himself out of $200,000. $200,000, not 300, family. He peeled himself out of $200,000 student loan debt, okay? And he basically goes through and he explains what the stress was. Just how incredibly stressful it was for him to do it. And then he gets a girlfriend, and she also has $200,000 of student loan debt. And you can watch the video and figure out, it'll tell you what happened in that relationship. Okay, so I'm going to link that at the end. It's very, very interesting. It's his deep dive. It's his commentary as to how hard it was to get out 200,000, and it's a bit emotionally gripping, in my opinion. Okay, I couldn't get myself out of 110 as a school teacher. This woman has 300,000, and she wants to give up on it. She can't give up on it. Short of being given a large inheritance where the entire thing goes to the inheritance, winning the lottery, we can't bank on those things to help us, however.
And I think that the greatest opportunity for you to make money is through your legal work.
Yeah.
You just don't have time.
What she's seeing is that the amount that she's making in relation to how hard she's working, it isn't paying off. That's what she sees. She's going, yeah, okay, here's what I'm willing to bet. She would do the loss thing if she was making 150,000. Okay, add up what she's doing in these 3 jobs. It's just undauntingly exhausting, okay? If she was pulling in 150, 175,000, I bet she would feel very differently. Again, if she's grossing 80,000, she only grossed 10,000 more than I did in 2023. That's all the extra she grossed was 10 grand to be given a student loan bill of 300,000
to sell houses. That's a full-time deal. So it's either or. It's like you go all in on selling homes, and if you do that, then there's no limit to what you can make. But I'm just going to make that point. You got to bring in some more income here, because 300,000 is doable. I'm going to hand it over to Jade. Jade, walk her through the...
Imagine doing 3 jobs and being basically told you need to bring in more income. She's lost her mojo, family. She's lost her mojo. I would have lost mine too. But I'm going to ask the question that I ask all the time. Was this avoidable? Are the financial situations that we put ourselves into, are they avoidable? Who's to blame ultimately for taking on that financial debt? We are. Most of the time, it's us.
The process here.
Okay, so the loans, did you consolidate them, or are they singular?
They're single.
Okay,
They're
good.
singular.
That's good. Okay, so
She's saying that's good because when you consolidate the loans, well, it may be convenient to have one payment. It raises the bill even more.
as trite as this may sound, all we're doing is listing them from smallest to largest, and we're paying minimum payments on all of them. Hopefully, I don't know, are you enrolled in any of the assistance plans? Are you in Save Plan or anything like that?
The income-driven payment, I've been on that for about 13 years.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh, my God. Oh, 13. Oh, sweet Jesus. I think we should pray. Oh, my God. Oh, 13. Guys, I thought she had just graduated. Like, or at the very least, I figured, maybe she's like 25 years old and she just, it's been, she dipped her toe for just a little bit in the work world. 13 years. Okay. Let's all hold our composure. We're just going to pause. I like, if you follow my channel, I like to put things in, I like to look things as in relative to other situations. So let's look at mine. 13 years. First of all, that bill was not 300,000 13 years ago. So let's look at my situation. Okay, 2006 I became a teacher. I had an $85,000 student loan from 2 master degrees. Okay, over the 16 years it grew to 110,000 on a teacher's income of approximately, I'd say, in the 50s at the time. I wasn't making 63 at the time. I was making around maybe 50, 57, right around there. Okay, for most of the years that I had it, I was in the 50s. All right, low to mid 50s. Okay, probably just round off to the mid 50s. I could never pay it off, so it grew 85 to 110,000, and it would have just kept on growing because I couldn't afford to pay off the condos, pay off the student loan, save for retirement, have any sort of savings. It just wasn't going to happen. Now I want you to take that, and I want you to make that 110,000, make it 300,000. This bill was nowhere near 300,000 at the time. And what this bill is accruing in interest, just in interest. If this is her income per month, I am telling you, family, she's not meeting the interest payment on 300,000. And the way I kind of judge the interest, just approximately, because like I said, I had my student loan for so long, I estimate that approximately for every 100,000 you have, okay, not being income based where you like you base it on your income, but just standard straight payment to try to pay it off in say 20 years or whatever, approximately $1,000 a month, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. So if she's holding on to 300,000, I guarantee you with all my heart and soul, this woman is paying nothing less than probably around $3,500 just to meet the minimum payment. And that may not even be going into the principal. This is really a lesson for us to all learn about runaway debt. And something like the SAVE plan and income base certainly is not going to help her. That's not going to help her. Yeah, she can keep making those minimum payments on, say, an income based plan, but because she's never going to dip high enough into the principal, that bill just keeps growing. Family, here's something scary. She's had her student loan bill. Like I said, this call was 3 days ago. She's had the bill for 13 years. She's only had it 3 years less than what I had my student loan for, and I got mine forgiven. Okay? That's all she's had it for, respectively, around 3-4 years less. I was not prepared for her to say 13 years. I bet you weren't prepared for her to say 13 years. This bill is impossible for her to pay off, and she's not interested.
Okay, and is it going to run out, or do you still have time to be on it?
I mean, honestly, I try to re-enroll, and it takes months and months to get an answer. So I don't know. I'm kind of in limbo right now.
Okay, what's your current payment for the lot of them?
I don't pay anything.
Okay, good. So here's what we do.
Wait. She doesn't pay anything on the student loan. Okay, family, we're going to hold for just a second. Sometimes I have to do this. We're going to back it up just a hair. I just bear with me here. Back up about 30 seconds. I want to hear this again.
The income-driven payment, I've been on that for about 13 years.
Okay, and is it going to run out, or do you still have time to be on it?
I mean, honestly, I try to re-enroll, and it takes months and months to get an answer. So I don't know. I'm kind of in limbo right now.
Okay, what's your current payment for the lot of them?
I don't pay anything.
Okay, good. So
No. Take it from a student loan 16-year debt expert. Yeah, me. That is not good. It means when you have a zero payment on your student loan, and you're not in public service loan forgiveness, where that debt's going to be wiped out in 10 years respectively. Okay, it took me longer than 10 years, but that was because of the issues of student loan. Okay, the PSLF program, public service loan forgiveness. When she says I have zero payment, well, look what's happened to the student loan over the years. It just keeps going up, of course, because zero payment does not mean zero interest. Yes, there have been periods of interest where interest has been halted because of federal programs. Now remember, that doesn't apply to private loans. But her saying zero, people, she's not paying a dime on this stuff. And remember, you can't go bankrupt. This bill is not going away.
Here's what we do. The fact that your minimum payments are zero is a good thing for you right now, because that means you can put the full strength of your income on the smallest debt and knock it out fast.
If she was going to put the full strength of her income on the student loan bills, she would have done it already over 13 years. Okay. I am a student loan guru because, like I said, I had it for 16 years. And all my failures with student loans, the things I thought I understood, didn't understand, oh my goodness. You begin to realize that zero payment, income-based payment is never going to get you out. And in fact, speaking of income-based payment, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to link another story that I did on income-based payment, and I'm going to also link that. I'm going to put income-based repayment at the end. And it is how I discovered that income-based payment can really, really screw you over financially, big time. So I'm going to put those two videos at the end. The first one about the guy with the $200,000 student loan and how he handled that. And he was an attorney, by the way. And then, of course, my experience, my realization, you might say, with income-based repayment. If she was going to do these things, oh, great, we're going to take it, and gazelle intensity, all of this stuff, over 13 years, she would have done it already. I guarantee it to you. She would have done it already. The reason she's not doing it is because she's burned out. And here's the bottom line, folks. This isn't exciting anymore. You know how you buy a new car? You're like, oh, giddy, giddy. You know, this is a new car. And all of a sudden, the repairs have to start being done. The warranty runs out. This is why I drive a Toyota Corolla Hybrid, which now, you know, is almost paid off. Okay? I'm really, really excited. Just a few thousand more to go and the car is done. And I bought that spring this year of 2024. But now the excitement is over. And this is why, like I said, I bought a car that I knew, because, you know, all vehicles have to be maintained. I didn't want a German import that could only be, you know, ordered on, you know, every third Sunday at 4 times the cost. Okay, I want something that's pretty simple as far as vehicle maintenance and repairs. She bought the BMW, she bought the Mercedes. Oh, heck, she probably went higher than that. Okay. And now it's time to pay it off. And the excitement's not there. That's what she did. She bought a luxury car student loan. And now it's time to pay back the student loan. She also, like I said earlier, she didn't do the math on this. Her saying, I refuse to move, I'm not going to move because my family is here, she may not have a choice.
I wish there was a way to tell you that there was an easy button here. There's just not. And if you've listened to our show for any bit of time, you know, my husband and I had 280. Okay. And at the time we weren't making combined what you're making now.
But there were still 2 people doing it. Her husband and her had 280. There were still 2 people. And yes, they may have made less money, but the economy was also different. And when you went to the grocery store, you could, you know, you needed more than one sack to put $50 worth of stuff in it.
And so there's a part of this that you have to just, you know, ride that income until the debt is gone. You know, once you have maxed out your money for your time, and I don't know that you have yet. I agree with Ken. I think that you can do more to max out your time and get better money for it. But once you do hit that point, there is a point where you just go, okay, this is what I'm making and this is how long it's going to take. And as I've said many times before, you got to ride that horse to the Old Town Road. And just, that's what you got to do. And then when it's done, it's done.
Okay, if it were this simple, the debt would have been cleared off by now. If it were truly as simple as, you know what, you just got to work and pay this off, this $300,000 loan would not exist. But the failure of her to see how much she was racking up, her unwillingness to move away from her family, okay, 13 years has passed. If this debt was going to have been handled, or at least starting to be paid off on her wonderful income, she would have done it. If I could have paid off my $110,000 over the 16 years, I would have done it. It was not mathematically possible. And let's face it, you know, for those who think I'm living the high life, like I said, I drive a Toyota Corolla Hybrid. I live in 840 square feet, okay? Not exactly the high life. I mean, not broke and poor and all of that, okay? But still, and I live way beneath my income. With my car paid off, I only need about 40% of my income to make ends meet. But it's been a long road to get to this point. She is not really ready to face this debt. She hasn't been ready for a long time. And the longer she waits, the bigger this debt is going to get. This is a position that I would rather learn from by watching or listening to this show. Okay? I'd rather listen to her and learn from it than have to go through it myself. So yeah, this debt isn't going anywhere anytime real soon. And if it was as simple as, oh, good, you're on income based, just pick up a fourth job and just keep putting the money towards it. No, and I can pretty much, like I said, this ran, what was it, 3 days ago? This debt's going nowhere. Live and learn, right?
I am drowning in student loan debt. I have $300,000 in student loans.
Is this someone who perhaps took it out when they were younger, much younger, and it's been building over time? Just something to think about,
What's your degree in? Are you a lawyer or a doctor?
Probably neither.
A lawyer.
Okay, that's good.
Well, this proves, though, that I don't get snapped for that because I was wrong on that. But it proves, however, that not all lawyers are rich.
Good news. I hope you got a good lawyer job. You didn't take a job with the state or something.
The government, federal government.
Why?
Because she can do it for 10 years and write it off as public service loan forgiveness. Right? And again, like I said in an earlier video, I know 10 years is never as easy to do as it seems. I know I make it sound easy. Oh, it's just 10 years. No, it's 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears, but it can be better than calling the Ramsey show saying you're $300,000 in debt. I want to hear how she got into this debt.
Work-life balance. So,
work-life balance? You got $300,000 in debt.
I know. I did have a mental health breakdown back in 2018, and I couldn't find a job, so the government was the first one that came up at the end of 2019, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, how old was she? I'm just saying she sounds older. I could be wrong, okay? Some people just have older sounding voices, all right? But it makes me wonder, when did she get this degree? Because it's based on when she got this degree, then who was her audience? She said, from what I understand, she has a degree, she tried to find a job. Well, unfortunately, I think I even did a YouTube short on this, and that was, depending upon what age you're trying to enter a certain workforce at, it may or may not be a good move to take on such debt. But we don't know enough yet, so we're going to find, hopefully.
How much they paying you?
My gross is $89,834.
That would be a wonderful pay if she had said, I have, $100,000. Okay, we could knock that out. She was at 89,000, okay? Because the general rule with student loans is you should not take out more debt than what you're going to make in your first year income. So me being stupid and having, $85,000 in debt for a job when I started teaching, okay, when I accrued the $85,000, my teaching job was like 45, 46, 47 at best. So my student loan was already double practically. So no. And really, I would like to know when she got this loan and how old she was, because that would tell you a lot about who her competition is going to be.
How long you been out of law school?
2015.
2015. You guys know I'm lousy at math. So she's been out of law school 8 years. I really want to know how old she is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be a dream killer, but if we're going to take out debt to go to school, we have to put some logic into it.
How are you doing with your mental health?
Better. I see a therapist bi-weekly. That's a part of my budget, is that I have to pay my copay for my therapist. And I see the psychiatrist quarterly, and I take medication.
What caused the mental health breakdown? Because boy, do I understand mental health breakdown. I get it. But it would be interesting to get some insight on what caused. Was it a condition that was already there, and perhaps it was triggered by, going to school and all of that, and like she said, the stress. Okay, what triggered, what's the root cause of the mental health condition? And if this was a condition she already had and she knew about it before law school, okay, in other words, it was already something she was kind of familiar with, I'm sure going to law school probably just put it right over the top. It's just the stress, the absolute stress.
Good investment.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're doing better.
I am much better, and realizing that I gotta get a hold of all of this.
You married?
My wife, I'm not married, but I still am with my children's father.
How many kids do you have?
3.
What age?
16, 7 going on 8, and 4 going on 5.
Okay, she might 16. She had basically a 16-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 4 going on 5-year-old. $300,000 in student loan.
All right. Well, you got a mountain to climb here, and so we got to get our climbing gear out. And the hole that you're in is $300,000. The shovel that you have is $90,000.
And let's think about the interest per month. Okay, around $3,000 a month in interest for every 100 grand. About $1,000 a month in interest.
Right?
Yes.
Your income, we call it the shovel to hole ratio. Your income versus the amount of debt you got to climb through. And so I start going, okay, out of 90,000, how quick can I pay off 300? Well, if I pay off 30 a year, that's 10 years. That doesn't work.
Yes. Too long. I even tried to work some things out, and I'm like, this feels too long. It was like I measured like 6 years, and I was like, that's like 5,000 more a month, and I'm like, I don't know.
Well, just the base pay to keep out of the just to keep the interest from stacking on, just to keep the interest. People, I cannot beg you enough. Ask yourself, hey, do I have $1,000 to give away every month? Every 4 weeks, can I just shuffle away $1,000? Can I do that? Do you have $1,000? Because if you don't, stay away from the $100,000 student loan, or borrowing even less than 100, letting it creep to 100. In other words, you don't want to get anywhere near a 100 grand student loan, right? Now ask yourself if you've got 2-3 times that amount. I'd really like to know how old she is, because that's going to have that could have a really big impact on how much time she's got to pay this off. And that's why I say public service.
I do try to work on the side. I need to. I do probate and some estate planning, but it's just been slow going. Only 500 there, 500 there.
So now that things are settled a bit after 2018 and the pandemic and everything, are you open to finding a different job that maybe pays a bit?
I did not think of it. No, I didn't. I am open, but I did not think of it.
Because you could probably make 106, probably double your income.
Okay, because we all know what Dave's going to say. He's going to say, climb, double your income. Here's what I'm going to say, though, from a mental health perspective, because I've been where she is. And anybody who's been following since I became a Reaction Channel about a month ago, okay, barely a month ago, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the problem. When you have a history of mental health issues, sometimes some of the worst advice you can give someone is to take on a more stressful job. Take on a more stressful job, work more hours, stress. This can re-trigger a mental health issue. To somebody who has a mental health issue, okay, telling them to just, now we want you to, up your hours to 60 hours a week. That may not be the best if you're trying to balance their mental health. And the one thing that I see is by doing a public service job, and don't get me wrong, I'm not, I'm a public service worker and I work very hard at my job, okay? And I'm not saying being a public service worker is easy, but it's probably going to be more consistent, more steady in the hours, more steady in what you're going to do compared to saying, hey, go work for a really high-end law firm and just, double up your work hours. She's obviously sensitive to mental health. I completely understand. 110% understand. I would not advise her, if you're wanting to keep her mental health in check, telling her to go out and get now a really high stress job may not be to work high stress hours, not so much the job itself, but the extra incredible hours you might have to put in over maybe a more steady state government type shift in hours. It's a thought. It's something to consider. Not saying that, public workers, we trust me, we work extra hours too, okay? But in comparison to what might be demanded of her mentally and physically, if it's about trying to balance her mental health with her ability to stay employed, that's got to be looked at. I know my mental health limit. I know what I can do mental health wise. I've learned that parameter. I know that bar. And it doesn't mean I couldn't do more. I just know that, hey, for me to stay mentally healthy, alert, aware, happy, sane, and sound, I need a little of this, a little of this, a little of this, a little of that, okay? I don't need to be tipping it all over to one side. So that's just something to consider before, we advise everybody just go work more hours, get a harder job. It's just a thought. It is a suggestion. Just something, to consider.
Or 7, you got out there in private practice. And it might take a little bit of time. You're not going to get there in the job you're in.
But private practice is going to pay a price. It's going to pay a price. Yes, it will pay more, but it's going to come at a price. And it may be with someone with a history of mental health issues, that may be a price that is too high.
And you need a bigger shovel, mathematically.
And mathematically, she can get that shovel working PSLF, take the $300,000 that she owns, divide that all into the 10 years she would have to do. Okay, minus the payments, because she does need to make payments on it still. But she'd be able to stay solidly at income base, okay? 10 years income base, even if her job paid her $50,000 a year, okay? She'd stay for 10 years at income base, subtract that, and then take whatever's left. And it doesn't matter if her student loan bill goes higher and higher because she's income based and she's public service. So if over 10 years that $300,000 bill climbs to $375,000, it's not going to matter because she's going to get it forgiven anyways, everything. There's something to be said sometimes in compromising. Are you going to chase the dollar and sacrifice the mental health, or are you perhaps not going to chase the dollar that way and you're going to get it maybe the more tortoise, it was the tortoise and the hare, the tortoise, the slower way, okay? But at the end of, say, 10, 11 years to pay that off, she's able to average in and go, look, she saved, well, in her case, hundreds of thousands of dollars going the other way, and she saved her mental health. That's my concern, is her mental health and balancing it. My concern for her is not go out, get the highest paying 80-hour week job you can possibly find, and you're back on the psychiatrist's couch, and now you've lost that job because you mentally broke down because you can't handle it.
The arithmetic tells, because if you could put 80 on this, you'd be done in 3 or 4 years.
No, it's not going to happen. Guys, if that could happen, then people who live in $300,000 homes would write 3-year mortgages. Why do we write 30-year mortgages, 15-year mortgages? Think about it. If it were that easy, we don't need 30-year mortgages. There's no reason. Whether you're paying a mortgage or a student loan, it makes no difference. You're paying $300,000, right? Hypothetically, right? Doesn't matter. So everybody with the $300,000 mortgage ought to pay that sucker off quick.
But you can't put 80 on it when you make 90. Right. You can when you make 100.
Again, I'm going to stress. My experience tells me that the stress of bringing that type of income in, that income doesn't come for free. It comes at a price. And I think the price will be too high to somebody telling me that they have reserved budget to sit on a psychiatric couch because they're trying to keep their mental health in order. Been there. I know what I'm talking about. A high stress job, I don't care what it pays, is going to potentially break her. And now she loses that high stress job.
And yeah, there's going to be some work-life balance, but I'm going to go with some work-life balance. Like that, mom's going to work because mom has a mess, and I'll see you in about 3 years.
No. Not. Take it from me. If you're going to care for your mental health, take it from me. No, that's not going to work. It might work to someone who has who doesn't have a history of mental health, is somewhat is a type A personality. They're type that are always, jumping off cliffs and doing these exciting things. And I think that's type A, correct? I apologize if I'm wrong, okay? No, somebody who has a mental health history, what Ramsey, with all due respect, is missing. This person has a mind that isn't the strongest. It can be broken. I mean, all minds can be broken, but when you've already are struggling with mental health, it's already broken, you're trying to hold it together. No, this will not be mentally healthy for her. No.
Well, and especially if you make that shovel bigger, then it's less about side hustling and working 80 or 90 hours to
well,
try to...
Well, it might be at a new law firm, a private law
That's
firm.
true.
They might put her in the...
That's true.
Or she could just work for the state. Make less, but be steady. You get your holidays, you get all that stuff pretty much built in. Now, again, I'm not saying that not working for the state isn't going to require extra hours, okay? I don't know any job that doesn't require some extra hours. But it sure as heck is going to be different than going to a private law firm where they think everybody has the energy of a 25-year-old and you're going to be working up all night, all day. And meanwhile, you're on the psychiatric couch, 2-3 times a week trying to keep it together. This is where we have to go beyond looking at the money. And it's got to be a balance of other things.
And lock her on the 5th floor and not let her out. But
at least you'll have the income there. Like you're...
No, she's not going to have the income. She's going to lose the job because of a mental health breakdown. Mark my words. Oh, do you want to know how I know? How do I know this stuff? I had to take a sip of beverage. Apple juice. How do I know?
Your salary will be a lot stronger than what it is currently.
The probability of you getting this mess cleaned up increases the more you can shorten how long the pain is going to be.
The probability of her losing the job because now she's so mentally stressed is even higher than the probability of her being able to clean up this mess in 3 years. I hope that makes sense.
For your sake, I think you've got to reconsider how you can go make double what you make, or almost double what you make, and throw all the difference at it.
I think she should reconsider that and instead go, where can she find work and life balance? Do that for 3 years, and there you go.
Because, I mean, does it not sound pretty appealing to be out of debt in 3 or 4 years?
Doesn't it sound appealing to have your mind and your health all together? You see, Mr. Ramsey and we could go back and forth on this all day.
Yeah.
I mean, I would give up a lot of stuff to do that.
I wouldn't give up my mental health to do it.
Would give up a lot of a sacrifice to do that. When we started this company, my kids were your kids' age or younger, and for 3 years, my wife will tell you she was virtually a single mom when we started this company.
Right, and was he on a psychiatric couch, telling tales because he couldn't function, he couldn't operate. These are just things that, these are things that we have to think about. So often when people are in debt, we keep telling them just work longer, work longer, work longer, but we forget the other half of it. It's not always about work longer, it's about work smarter. And for some people, many people out there, working smarter is to actually work fewer hours, okay? Use government programs that can benefit them, such as the public service loan forgiveness, which I know Mr. Ramsey doesn't believe in. That's all right. He's entitled to that. I have proven that it's really not a genie in a bottle. It really is real because my $110,000 was forgiven in 2022, okay? But we so often forget the human side of telling people to get out of debt. We just tell them to keep working harder. I could not work any harder than what I was already working, because I was going to get sick or I was going to break down mentally more than I already was broken down. So telling me to work longer, that was not going to solve my problem.
But if you work like no one else, later you get to work like no one else. And if you live like no one else, later you get to live like no one else. And here's the thing, the amount of time that human beings in America waste.
And something else we do forget, okay, about public service, not only would she get that entire loan paid off tax-free, there are also a couple other perks. Her chances of getting laid off are lower working for city government than it is working for a private firm. And when she has done her 10 years of public service and that's forgiven, guess what? She walks away with a pension as well. Because most pensions, most city, state government programs have pensions. So not only does she get it forgiven, she gets a pension. I have a pension, I'm vested with the state of Florida. So yeah, I got my $110,000 student loan forgiven tax-free, okay? Plus, I'm fully vested in the Florida pension program. We're forgetting the other parts that are included. And this is why I say, and the employment in general, not saying state government, federal government, not saying they don't ever do layoff, but her chances of layoff, the chance of that volatility of going up and down on her loans is reduced working for the federal government state overall than it is working for the private sector, where one day you're in, the next day you're out, another day you're in, next day you're out. And when she's unemployed, guess what? She may not have the $3,000, $2,800 a month to pay the student loan. And what happens to the student loan? If you can't pay, that balance just adds on and it goes interest on the interest. So not only does she walk away after 10 years with a loan that's forgiven, she also walks away with a lifetime pension working for the state, city, or government. Nobody ever likes to mention that, but just saying.
In front of the television will really cause you to prosper alone. And you can't call sitting in front of the television work-life balance, because children aren't getting anything out except watching mom and dad zone out watching Netflix and Tiger King.
Hey, I'm waiting for the second season on Netflix of Empress 2. It is supposed to come out. The Empress 2, that's coming out real soon from what I've heard. I'm ready.
And so, I don't recommend working 80 hours a week and never seeing your children as a way of life.
I highly do not recommend it for people with any history of extreme mental health issues. I'm not talking minor. I'm talking the ones that you're on medication and we really, you have to treat yourself kindly.
But for a short period of time to get some kind of a needle to move, hard work never killed anybody. Right before you die, you pass out if you're working hard. No,
but it might put you back on the psychiatrist couch, so the money that you were supposed to spend paying off your bill just goes to the psychiatrist.
So you're not going to die from it.
I kind of disagree with that. It can take some people over the top, but we're not going to, probably not ever.
Good job having the courage to call. You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
I agree.
And you have a huge mountain ahead, but we have seen people pay off $300,000 in debt.
And what she's saying about being on a psychiatrist's couch, having basically a breakdown, she has a certain amount of money reserved each month so she can get her mental health treatment. Does this seem like the type of person you should say, hey, you know what, go work for a private law firm and start hauling in 70 hours a week. Now, I'm not saying she can't do it, okay? And I'm not even saying she can't do it for a short period of time, but she would have to do it long enough to pay off the 300 grand. And again, if people could pay off 300 grand in 3, 4 years, 5 years, we don't need 30-year mortgages to pay off houses. We don't need 30-year mortgages. We only need 3, 5, 6-year mortgages. I had a job once when I was in my early 30s. I was still living in Oregon. And every day at 5 o'clock, every day, I would get off work and I would get nauseous, okay? Just lightheaded nausea. I would literally have to pull over on the freaking I-5 freeway in Portland. This is where I lived, okay? I would have to pull over on the freeway sometime and lean the car seat back. And I couldn't figure out what was causing it, but I mean, I couldn't make it home. I literally could not make it home. Even though home was only like maybe 10 minutes away. I finally called the doctor and I basically told him what was happening. And his exact words to me were, "Carrie, quit the job." And I said, "Well, what do you mean quit the job? I need the money." He said to me, point blank, "If you quit the job, those symptoms will go away." And I said, "What's happening?" And he said, "You are so stressed and tense." This is what he said was happening. "You are so stressed and tense at work that when you get off work each day, you're able to breathe." Well, that relaxation, he said, was causing your headaches, your nausea, because you don't realize it, but you're sitting tight all day long. You're just tight, tight, tight. And then finally, he said, you're able to relax and breathe when you finally get off the job. I hated the job. I did not like it. And I remember it just felt stressful, but I didn't understand, why I was getting nauseous and why I would have to get lightheaded and all that stuff. So I took my doctor's suggestion. Have you ever been happier looking for a job than you were in a job? You're actually happier looking for a job. So I took my doctor's suggestion. I quit the job and I actually became unemployed. This is one of my early 20s when, being unemployed wasn't quite as difficult as it wasn't quite as difficult as it would be now in my 50s, okay? And I could kind of bounce from one, job to another. I was not in a career. I was just in jobs, administrative type stuff. And wouldn't you know it, within probably 3, 4 days, it never happened again. And I've shown, when you get into a job that's not right for you, that's too stressful, it's going to bring on symptoms. And I just, I kind of want to, I don't want to baby this caller, but it's like, dang, I don't want her stepping into something thinking it's all about the money at the expense of her health. So yeah, I actually quit the job and the symptoms went away and they never came back.
And so, you even if the news is hard, hope that it's going to be over soon. I can deal with the hard news.
Right. Yeah.
The human mind can deal, psyche can deal. So my point is, it's going to help your mental health to have a plan that gets you out.
Right. Yeah. The idea of carrying around $300,000 in student loan debt for the rest of your life, that sounds terrifying. I think anybody would feel that pit in their stomach and just a rough feeling like that monster is chasing you and it's right there all the time. But yes, there is hope. This is scary right now, but you can tackle this. You can tackle this mountain as hard as it is.
It's never as easy to tackle as people think it is. If debt were as easy to tackle as sometimes you hear on shows, we would not have, what do we have? 1.75 trillion in student loan debt. Something is happening in life that's keeping these people from paying off debt. Something is happening. What is it that's happening? That's why it's never as easy to pay off as it seems. Trust me, I would have paid off the 100,000 if I could have. I would have paid off when it was 85 if I could have.
I have fallen into the student loan conundrum. All of my debt is in student loans. I'm 30 years old. I have about $300,000 in student loans.
30 years old with more than $250,000 in student loan. I hope he asks who's the doctor, lawyer, right? 30 years old.
And I am engaged, have been for the past 3 years because we are scared to get married. Just because of the debt, we are nervous to buy a home. We are currently renting, and we want to get free. We are completely new to you and your show and your plan. So we just want to go.
I understand why you're scared with 300,000.
Now, just so you know, this is playing at 1.25 speed. I wonder who's scared. Is she scared or is her fiance? I think she's the one who has the debt. I think, or is her fiance scared? I want to know who's more scared.
$1,000 in student loan debt. Why does that affect getting married?
It doesn't. I guess.
Well, it did. You told me you've been waiting 3 freaking years.
Right. So I guess neither one of us just want to go to the courthouse and get married, but
You want to be able to pay for something nicer is what you're saying.
right. But
Are you a doctor or a lawyer?
There we go. There we go. Let's hear it.
I'm actually a pharmacist.
What are you earning?
100.5?
Actually, it's more like 122, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Gross.
Does that feel low?
It's a little low, but you're starting. You just got out. So,
Correct,
how long you been out of school?
For the past 3 years.
Okay. All right.
What's his situation?
I got an undergrad degree before I actually went into school.
Well, at least they're being responsible. They're having the discussion about the debt before they get married, right? I did a video just not too long ago on a woman who is pregnant and baby's due in about 12 weeks, no father. And it doesn't seem like the entire situation was very planned out. And she has an eviction being written up, I think it was about a week or so ago. So at least this couple, well, the debt just seems really high. I mean, I don't know, maybe $300,000 for a pharmacy degree. I don't know. See, when I was married, we made about 120,000. Okay, maybe even possibly a little bit more, and it didn't seem like that much money. And even with my student loan at the time, it was in the 80s. It was no 300,000.
Yeah. What does he make?
He makes 60, and then he also gets bonuses.
Does he have a bunch of debt too?
He actually has no debt, and he has very minimal credit history. So we actually did seek out, mortgage pre-approval, and we got it, but it was basically
you don't need to buy a house.
It's not hard to get approved to get a pre-approval for a mortgage. I don't think it really is.
House you're broke.
So let me tell you. Let me tell you a story.
That's where we're at.
Let me tell you a story. My husband and I had $280,000 of student loans. A little less than you, but if you add our credit cards in, we were, call it 300.
Yeah, no credit cards for us.
My point is, your income is a lot better than ours was back then.
It's better. Let's see, this video is 4 months ago. It's better if it's tightly managed. Okay? As they say, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. But so far, at least they're being responsible. They've obviously are having the discussion. So that's a good thing.
At least to start. And for you guys, it doesn't matter, like Dave said, getting married is not the issue. Matter of fact, go ahead and get married, work on this thing together, and go through.
Sometimes I can't tell what Dave wants. Does he want people to get together heavily in debt, or does he not want them to get together heavily in debt? Sometimes I can't tell.
Through it together, and you're just gonna have to walk through these steps and commit to the fact that we've got this debt here for a couple of years. We're living on nothing to get this paid off. Luckily, you guys got a good shovel. You got a good income, and that's it. It's just the student loans, right?
And Courtney, you feel stuck.
I don't think it's as easy to pay off as they're making it sound. I really don't. If I think about when I was married, okay, I didn't make $60,000 a year at the time. It was probably closer to the $50,000. Okay, I've never believed it's as easy and as simple as sometimes the Ramsey show makes it sound. If it were so easy, and I've said it before, we would not have 30-year mortgages on $300,000 homes. Okay? People who make in their income, okay, I think he makes 60, she makes around 120, maybe she'll get a raise in the future. Okay, how many of those people go out and get mortgages for $300,000 homes and say, hey, we'll have this paid off in 2 years? Again, it doesn't matter where the dollar is going as far as the title of the dollar. It's the dollar, period. So it doesn't matter to me if this is a $300,000 student loan or if it's a $300,000 house. Could I knock out a $300,000 house in 2 years? It makes no difference. And I think this is part of when people go, how come student loans last so long? Because it's never as easy to knock out the bill as fast as you would like. It just isn't. Now, some people, granted, can do it. Some people really, really can. All right? Not saying everybody can't, but I think they're almost more the outliers, unfortunately, that are able to just take it and knock it out. But if $300,000 bills were so easy, then people in $300,000 homes shouldn't need a mortgage for more than just a couple of years.
Don't you?
I really do.
And you
Yes.
feel a little bit ashamed to marry him and
Attached
and,
to all
hand, and hand him $300K.
I would really like to know who's more afraid of the marriage. I believe it would be the guy who's more afraid to get married, because that's a heck of a debt to take on. I will link at the end, okay? I will link at the end of this video the attorney, excuse me. It was a 30-year-old who talks about why he would not marry somebody ever again with a massive student loan debt. This would be considered massive. He was an attorney, 30 years old. And as he said, he put in his words, it was a bloodbath getting through it. And he was not married, no kids. Okay, he was able to put all the card pieces where he needed them to go, but he described it as an absolute bloodbath. And when he had the opportunity more than once to get married, he turned both of them down, saying, I'm not walking that path again. It's never as easy as it seems. I'll try to link that video at the end. If you listen sometimes, to the Ramsey show, it makes debt just seemed almost like it's just a whisper of a kiss to get rid of.
Yeah.
Like you're going, there's pretty serious dowry here, yeah. That's an old word, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, it's so it is messing up, not getting married, but it's messing up your view of yourself and your relationships. Is that?
Well, and it's also difficult to budget because, we want to have one bank account.
You don't need to have one bank
we want
account until you're married.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me project a future for you that you haven't seen. Let's run some numbers for a second. Okay. Go get married this weekend.
Okay, and here's what I suspect is going to happen. All right. He's going to project what their future dollars are. Okay, and the projection will be she'll be at the top of her field, top of the career in just a few years. She'll be bringing all this money, and this debt will be gone in 2 years. I'm debt free. I don't project like that. I don't think it's wise to project like that, because what happens if the future doesn't deliver on that? I mean, you can try, but to put it in stone and say, yep, this is how much money I'm going to make by such and such date. I did not become debt free. I could honestly tell you, because I thought into the future how much more money I would make. I actually became debt free by going, what would happen if I didn't make additional money in the future? What would happen if my teaching job never gave me another pay raise? What would happen if I had to cut down, due to medical reasons, my income by half? That is how I became debt free, and it required me to drop everything. That's how I became debt free. And I still had a student loan at the time, because I just became debt free September 2023. So I've only been totally debt free like 8 weeks ago, but I was on that path. Okay. And I became debt free 9 months earlier than expected. All right. I wasn't expecting to become totally debt free till summer 2024. I mean, 110% completely done, yada, yada. Okay. It got bumped up by 9 months. So I became debt free 9 months earlier, but I was already on that track, and I was solidly on it. But I didn't get there because I looked at the future and said, well, I expect to get another $1,000 teaching pay raise within this time, and then I expect my part-time job to give me this. That's not how I did it. I took everything and I said, what would happen if I lost it? What would it take for me to be able to keep it? How little would I have to have? How little would I have to own? And that's how I, purchased a very small condo versus a bigger condo. Purchased half of what I could afford. It's how I trimmed down all my budget. And I haven't had cable since I've been divorced, which was over 10 years. I think cable's a huge waste of money for the most part.
No, just ride with me on my little trip here, okay? Just for a second. It sounds absurd, but you've been dating for 3 years. You've been engaged forever. We'll celebrate in other ways later. Now, if I calculated correctly, you make 122, he makes 60. That's 182. He has no debt. We have now one house to support, one set of rent, one set of heat and air, one set of electricity, one set of water, one set of things in the refrigerator. You with me?
Right.
So your living costs go down approximately in half.
The living costs go down for her. For him, hypothetically it's going to go way up. Not hypothetically. His cost is going up. He's marrying into a $300,000 debt. He's marrying into we need to make sure we pay at least $3,000 a month towards the student loan, or we're going to incur interest on interest. Her costs go down. His shoot up.
I also have a car payment.
Oh, what do you owe on your car?
20.
Okay, we'll put that in the story too. Okay. Now, so you make 122, he makes 60, and he has bonuses on top of that. What do you think he'll really make in the coming 12?
Okay, see, this is the thing. I don't count bonuses. I don't count them. If it isn't in my base pay, I became debt free because I never counted those things. I never relied on those things. Not a penny of it. And I know someone who literally calculates her bonus as part of her cost of living, as part of her housing, as part of her transportation. And the problem, the problem with that is she actually lives her life based on that dollar figure. And it's fooled her into thinking she has more money than she really has. Because there have been times when the bonuses haven't come in, it's been a panic. Well, if you're not relying on your bonuses, okay, and you're just looking at what you make right now, what scenario with what you make right now what situation financially would you sit in right now based on what you make, assuming you did not make any more in the future? That's where I project. Anything else is just, cherry, what is it? Whipped cream and cherries on the cake. Anything else. So that's where Dave and I definitely are on different wavelengths. I don't go, okay, what would happen? Okay, I don't do this. I have a part-time job, and it's a pretty stable part-time job because it's right at my school. I don't ever go, well, now let's see, if I do my part-time job and I can bring in an extra, $400 a month, and I do that for so long, this is what I'll have. I don't allow myself to do that, because what happens if I have to leave the part-time job? Okay, I mean, it is a part-time job. It's a little side gig. All right, what happens if I have to leave it? I don't factor the part-time job into my budget. I don't factor bonuses, side gigs, future pay raise. I've never factored that into my budget in over 10 years. And I swear it's how I became debt-free. Because if I had factored those things into my budget, I would have gone, okay, let's see, when I got divorced 10 years ago, I was at 50,000. I could go, okay, let's just assume now in the future I'm going to be at, 58, 59, 60,000. I'm going to pace my financial spending on that. I never did that. I've always looked at it as just, this is what I make. And anything, extra is just great.
Including his bonuses.
She can't factor the bonuses. They are bonuses. They are not base pay.
Probably maybe 170 maybe 70 with a bonus.
Okay.
This is the problem, though. You don't actually know. You're pulling straws. You don't actually know. It's a bonus. It can be anything. You know, what is it? What is it? You shouldn't rely on it till it's actually in your hand. Okay? You should not rely on bonuses until it's in your hand. It is much safer to financially plan without incorporating bonuses and all of that stuff. Because she's just making up the numbers. She's just making up numbers. And for me to become debt free, I could not afford to make up numbers. I had to work with what was actually here today. Those numbers can be adjusted as new numbers come in down the future. All right. Those numbers can be adjusted, but I'm sure as heck not going to just take it and adjust it on my own and do some, hocus pocus, hopefully magic trick. And I hope I hit that, number in the future. I don't operate that way.
Okay. And I know this about you. You may not, but you can pick up pharmacy duty in the ER at the local hospital on the weekends, and you can make another 25 or 30 if you put in a whole bunch more hours.
He doesn't know that. Is she making that money right now? This is probably the biggest area I disagree with Ramsey, because there are lots of areas I definitely agree with him on, but I think this area is the biggest one that I definitely disagree with. These are all hypotheticals. We don't know that. What happens if something happens is she can't pick up those extra hours for whatever reason. Personal emergency, family emergency, whatever. I could not become debt-free if I had based my dollars on projection. And I mean, that's just me. Maybe other people can.
Then you're putting in as a temporary
Right.
measure. Okay. And so now I'm at 155 and 70. So I
All based on numbers that are what? Hypotheticals. Nothing is real.
think I'm doing 2.25 now. Anybody with me here? I got $300,000 in student loan debt, and I'm going to take my 2.25 and I'm going to live on 50. At least
Okay, but the dollar amount that this is all being based on hasn't actually occurred yet.
gives me 175 minus taxes to put on the 300. You're debt free in 2 years.
Everybody who owns a $300,000 house should have it paid off in 2 years from these figures. Why do we have 30-year mortgages? What happens that creates us to have 30-year mortgages? Why do we even need 15-year mortgages?
Just by picking up extra hours.
Picking up extra hours, living together, married,
On 50.
and spending no money. You're not eating out. You're not going on vacation, and you're sure as crud not buying a house. We might be selling your car
Right.
to get a cheaper car. But the goal here is to get free, because otherwise we're stuck. We want to get free so we can buy a house and live a great life together and build wealth.
And have kids.
And have kids and be generous. But right now, you can't see that because you've got Mount Everest stuck between you and hope.
They have a house in front of them. That's what they have. They have a house in front of them. And when they go get their house, are they going to pay it off in 2 years? If you can pay off a student loan in 2 years, why can't you pay off a house in 2 years? What's the difference? It's all the same dollars.
Right.
And I just took Mount Everest apart with a pickaxe in 2 years.
But using numbers that are not confirmed. Like I said, this is probably the only area I really disagree. Whereas if she used her real dollars that she actually makes, they can project, okay, this is what we know we can do. These are the deadlines we know we can meet. Anything extra that we can throw towards it, we're going to do that. When I paid off this condo, and I did get a little help, with a significant down payment with my inheritance, all right? But again, and I've said it before, I still had to take out about a $50,000 mortgage. It was just a little under $50,000. So it wasn't like, I could just take my inheritance, throw it all, into the condo and say, okay, I'm all done, all right? But it did pay for a significant portion. It paid for the remodel and all of that. But I still, in determining that I wanted to pay it off, this is actually what happened, okay? I took out a 15-year mortgage, and I actually had projected to pay it off in 7 years. Okay, and I projected it based on what I made at that time, never accounting for future money. So I knew 7 years is what realistically I could pay it off in. Then the pandemic hit, and we got the stimulus money. Then I picked up a part-time job. That money came in, okay? All this stuff started rolling in. All of that extra money that I received then just simply got shoved towards the condo, and I was able to pay it off in 3 years. That to me is a much better that to me is a more realistic budget plan than me hypothesizing? I hope that's the correct word. Than me hypothesizing, well, if I make this and I think I can get this in the future, because what happens if I don't get it? Then I'm going to be disappointed. What happens if this goal can't be met? Can't be met? What happens?
I did that.
Right.
But I'm telling you, it's going to be a really hard 2 years. Because all the little luxuries you're accustomed to, none of them.
And that's why I'm going to attach at the end the 30-year-old attorney. Okay? The 30-year-old attorney who said after he paid off his $200,000, and it was a bloodbath, and everything he had to do to get that paid off, he said he would never go through it again.
Get nothing. Don't you dare
Right.
see the inside of a restaurant unless you're working there.
Yeah, so
Tuna fish
I did have a
and
second-
day
I
old
did have a
bread.
second question. I agree. Yes. So I guess the biggest thing was I did hear several of your advices to other people, just being like, don't rely on public service loan forgiveness. Do it yourself.
It just got you out of debt in 2 years. Why would you even bring that up?
Right.
He got them out of debt in 2 years on paper. On paper. And everything on paper always works out.
Well, because I guess my fiance sees it as a way out.
It's
and
not a way out. It's a
like I said,
10-year lie. You know what percentage of
Because his fiance has a point. Okay? His fiance has a point. On paper, sure. On paper, anybody can get out of debt at pretty much whatever time frame they want. All right? On paper. It's when you apply real life to it. It's when you apply real life. And it changes things. Why don't people with $300,000 mortgages get out of debt in 2 years? Why do we have $1.75 trillion in student loans? If I'm correct, half of those student loans are below the $50,000 mark. Okay? If I remember my stats correctly, all right? The 1.75 current, adjusting my stool here, okay? The 1.75 current student loan bill, okay? I believe more than half of it is actually under 50,000. Why are people carrying these bills? Why are people carrying $50,000 student loan bills they can't pay off when $300,000 bills should be paid off in 2 years? And again, people say, well, but they have a bigger shovel. I hate to, like I said earlier, I hate to break it. I've been in basically the same income bracket they were in. Okay, I didn't make 60 at the time. I made close to 50 at the time, 10 years ago. All right, and then my spouse made gross, over 100. So we really aren't. We're probably not $20,000 difference when I was married. Probably not a $20,000 difference from what this couple makes here. Let me tell you something. $300,000 student loan to pay off? Didn't happen. Didn't happen. Now, part of it, I will admit, is we weren't the best at financially planning. All right, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So I will throw that into the hat. But again, she's out of debt based on paperwork, not based on the actual applied life situations.
Public service loans forgiveness actually get forgiven? Less than 2%. 98% get screwed by this plan.
Right.
Think about the way you're feeling right now. Do you want to feel that for the next 10 years? Waiting
Well,
on...
here's the thing. When they apply real life to paying off this $300,000 debt, they may experience it anyways. At least if you go with the public service loan forgiveness, you have a pension when you're done. A lot of people forget that. They don't talk about that. Yeah, put 10 years into the federal government, put 10 years to the state government. Not only is your $300,000, not only do you get to pay income-based, okay, income-based. And by the way, if you marry, you do not want to file your taxes together. You need to file married but filing separately. Otherwise, what can happen is his taxes will affect her income-based payment, and you want to actually show as little income as possible, so you pay as little as possible. So you want to make sure you file married but filing separately, okay, when you're trying to do income-based. But a lot of people don't talk about the fact that, 10 years, lots of people are paying 10 years on lots of people are going on to their student loans 20, 30 years. All right, 20, 30 years. PSLF or not, public service loan forgiveness or not. So when people say, oh, gee, you want to be on that for 10 years? We can have you off in 2 years. On paper, you can. But don't forget, PSLF, you work for the federal government, state government. You also walk away with a pension. So not only do you not have to pay the $3,000 a month bill that they're going to have to pay, all right, that'll get knocked down to her income because it's income based. She'll pay pennies on the dollar. Plus, she'll be earning towards a federal or a state pension, federal, state, city pension. Nobody ever talks about that.
I'm
waiting
so worried
on
and
something
scared
that
and
likely
stressed.
won't happen.
Yeah, the reason he wants you to plug into that, he doesn't think there's another way. But you guys make a lot of money together.
You sure do.
No, it's not as much money as you think. My ex and I made that. Now, could we have better spent it? Absolutely. Absolutely. We could have better organized and managed it. Okay? And as soon as this bill is paid off, they want to buy a house. They can pay that house off in 2 years? Because if the answer is no to paying that house off in 2-3 years, then this isn't any different than paying off a house.
And you can make even more and spend none of it and throw it all at the student loans and kill that sucker. $150 a year for 2 years out of 2 1/4, and you're free.
You're going to be done in 2 years. It took my husband and I 7.5. Put that.
Because in real life, that's what you and your husband had to do to the lovely Jada. That's real life. Okay? And I'm sure if Jada and her husband had put it on paper, they'd been out of debt in 2 years also. Because remember, she said that her debt was about $280, so respectively $300. So how come Jada and her husband couldn't pay it off in 2.5 years? Now, maybe they made less. I don't know. But either way, this is all 2.5 years based on paper. I would not be debt-free today if I had based all my stuff on paper. I had to look instead at what I really, really made and drop my bills down as far as I could get them. And I continue to keep them dropped. I actually, I put about 30 to 35% of my income now goes into retirement. Ever since I became debt free. That's actually my January 2024 present to myself. Actually, I've already started doing it, but my official start date is January 1st, even though it's already started. I literally started putting 30 to 35% away, I think within 2 weeks of becoming debt free. It was like, boom, let's just get it started. Plus, of course, the emergency savings account. Okay, need a couple months savings. I'd like to build up a little bit more than a couple months, but for right now, I got about 2 months. I'm cool with that right now.
That in perspective. Okay. And we rented the whole time, so
and you had
let
babies.
That make you, and we had
and this was years ago, and what was rent at the time? All right, I think that was probably a while ago that they rented. Okay, because a 1-bedroom apartment now, $1,800 a month in Tampa, $1,800, $1,700 if you're lucky.
That was after the fact.
I know.
But for you, 2.5
One after the 7 years, was it?
Yeah, it was after.
Okay, and again, this show was 4 months ago. This episode aired 4 months ago this year.
After the 7
you
years.
didn't have any kids 5 or 7?
We waited. Okay. We rented for. Here's the stats. We rented for 10 years, and waited for 11 years to have kids.
Wow.
Yep.
Because it was doing to her what you thought it was doing to you before this phone call.
Right.
Now I might be off by a year. But whoopee.
And that's fine.
3 years. Whoopee. I might.
Or maybe 5 years. When the numbers actually show themselves.
Be off by another year. You might do it in a year and a half because you guys just go bananas and your husband goes, hey, game on. I'm working 24/7. We're getting done. Get married this weekend and kill this debt, girl. Do it.
See, I say no. And like I said, I will link that video at the end about the attorney who's like, he's like, he wouldn't marry a woman with $200,000 in debt, much less $300,000.
Well, I appreciate your advice. I feel like
she's not going to do it.
Please do it.
She may do it, but the person she's marrying may not. I'd really like to be a fly on the wall in his brain. Okay, I mean, he may love this woman a lot, but the fact that they have been engaged for 3 years during this. Okay, I mean, it says good things about her character, though. Okay, it says very good things about her character and that she is very aware of the debt. She's aware of the responsibilities, yada, yada. But I would like to be a fly on the wall in his brain.
My husband is a physician for 21 years.
Why do I already think this is going to be one of those calls where the doctor makes a whole lot of money, but the spending is clearly out of control? Now it says my spouse went $332,000 into debt behind my back. So this is the wife calling in. So this means it's her physician husband that went $332,000 into debt behind her back. Hey, I got this, okay? I got this.
In the past 10 to 12 years, he's been making investments off and on, some that I've known about, some that I haven't. 2 years ago, I found out that he had taken out some loans and credit cards without me knowing and took out $287,000 in debt. to invest in certain variety of things. I found out about it. We paid it all down. We sold the house last year. He said that we sold the house and downsized so we could pay off some of that debt or pay it off. And he told me he wouldn't do it again.
But he did it again because he's got an addiction of some sort.
That he wouldn't make these decisions without me doing it, with my knowledge. And Saturday night, I found out that he had taken $45,000 against his 401k and made another investment in December.
Right there, I'd be ready to get a divorce attorney. Right there, right there. There's one thing after my financial traumatic past that I could not deal with in a relationship. And that is a person who used to be like me, and that is someone who had a spending addiction. Now, luckily for me, it's been a few decades. But that is something I cannot return to no matter how much I might love the person. The spending addiction where there's just, it's out of control. Because if she's not careful, he will take them right into poverty. Straight into poverty. It's not what you make. It's what you keep. And the fact that he goes, oh, I won't do that again. You can't spend, you should not spend your relationship monitoring your husband's expenditure on his bank account. This is just how I feel about it.
So, as of Saturday, I've been living in the guest room.
There we go.
And I'm not sure where to go from now. I told him last time he did it, I would leave, but I'm not sure if that's something I should do or not do.
Well, if you stick around, you've shown him that you won't leave, and he'll do it again. If he doesn't solve the core problem of his spending, I don't know if it's a gambling addiction, a betting addiction, I don't know. I mean, there might be people who are addicted to betting on the market, okay? If he doesn't solve the internal problem with himself, then all that's going to happen is he's just going to take her right down with it.
Have you guys seen a marriage counselor?
We went one time, and then last January, and I don't quite remember why we didn't go back. I
probably didn't go back because it wasn't very effective.
Honestly, I don't think he really wanted to go back. I thought maybe we could work it out ourselves, so we haven't. No.
When you're talking about a spouse with a spending addiction, it's not something that can necessarily be worked out, in my opinion, as a partner. I mean, yeah, when I had my spending addiction in my 20s, I had boyfriends, but they weren't directly tied to my income. So in my case, the spending addiction didn't affect another person directly. It only affected me, thank God. But when you're talking with another person directly, just straight marriage counseling, and I've said this in other videos, it's the wrong angle, in my opinion. Marriage counseling can be used in conjunction with other forms of health, and that can be obsessive compulsive disorder, psychiatric diagnosis, yada yada. It goes beyond just straight marriage counseling. That, in my opinion, even if I had been married to somebody, that wasn't going to solve the problem. He needs one-on-one help to figure out what he's doing. And this is where it can become very difficult for a spouse to decide, do you stay or do you go? But keep in mind, if you stay, they can tank you financially with them.
So if you were going to call him names, would you say he's a liar or he's arrogant?
See, and the thing is, the reason I have a problem with that, okay, is just me speaking my thoughts here. I had a spending addiction. This guy clearly has an out of control addiction, but it doesn't mean at its root that they're a liar, they're an arrogant. They have an addiction. They have a problem. Do we tell someone who's an alcoholic, are they a liar or are they just arrogant? Okay. The addiction, the lying is a symptom of the addiction. It's not the cause. And so that's why I kind of go, ouch, when, Ramsey says, well, is he just a liar or is he arrogant? Yeah, he's a liar. That's a symptom. But let's go deeper and then find out what it is. Oh, there's trauma somewhere. Oh, there's unresolved past issues somewhere. You see? That I know. That I'm just giving you my 2 cents. It's not as easy as, honestly, if you could just say, yeah, he's a liar, that's it. Well, then wash our hands and on to the next question, right? Otherwise, that'd be like someone saying, well, Carrie, she filed bankruptcy 2 times. Is she just a liar or is she just arrogant? Is she just a bad money manager or is she just careless and irresponsible? Right? Sometimes you have to take a question and you have to change the way you think about it, or you have to change the circumstance. I hope that makes sense. But it would be very easy for someone to look at me and say, well, Carrie, she's had 2 bankruptcies. Is she just stupid? Is she just stupid or is she just, careless? You see what I mean?
He lies to me a lot.
Right. He's going to lie to you because he's got a problem that's deeper even than the lie. And unfortunately, you are the spouse married to him. This is where it gets difficult. And you may or may not have the wherewithal to go through this entire thing with him, which can take months to years to resolve. Let me make no mistake about it. Solving something like this is not done on a marital couch in just a few sessions, fall session and we're all good. Depending upon how far down the rabbit hole goes, this can take years. Me, top to bottom, from the time my shopping addiction first came out to the time I was finally, somebody could say stabilized, recovered, because it never really goes away, it just gets managed. But to the point that someone could say, okay, I think she can handle this. 15 years. 15 years of sheer psychological hell and back. Yeah, not exactly just a simple episode of 50 minutes, right?
About other things?
And oh yeah. Like when I asked him, when did he make that, I found out Saturday he did the 401k. I said, I assumed it was with all the other stuff 2 years ago. And so I kind of went outside, did some yard work that night. We were actually listening to Dave Ramsey on the Principal University Saturday night. And then it dawned on me, I said, when did you take out this loan? Because it's only been paid back $800 in 2 years. I said, when did you take this out? He goes, oh, I don't remember. I said, when did you take out this loan? Sometime in the past, I don't remember. And I looked it up because I figured out where it was.
He remembers. He knows.
It was through his work, and it was December. So, yeah, he's lied in the past. I'll say, hey, did work.
And he will continue to lie. This isn't going to change until he solves what the rock bottom problem is. And here's the kicker. The problem is most likely not her. It's in him. He's got to solve that problem first to be able to fix his relationship with her. Like I said, all this lying is just a symptom.
About non-money things, does he lie?
Yeah. I'll say, oh, you stuck at work today? He's like, yeah, it was a long day. And then find out later that he actually was out shopping and doing different things. Exactly.
I could shop till the mall's closed. Until, the announcement comes on that says, doors on the side of the mall are locking, in the next 10 minutes, hurry up, get out.
Has he cheated on you before?
Not cheat, no.
What's cheat?
Like affair or anything? No, has not.
What about a history of addiction?
Addiction?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he has addictions. Yes.
The only addiction is this money. He wants.
Okay. The only addiction is this money. It's kind of like when people say, "Well, I'm completely debt free except for my 6-figure student loan." Well, the only addiction, okay, the word "only" makes it almost like it's being minimized. Well, the only addiction problem is this money that's like around, more than $250,000 that's going to take up our retirement and sink us. Okay. We should never minimize it by just saying, well, I've got everything paid off except this, $300,000 student loan, or, oh yeah, we have, the only problem we have is just this money that he keeps spending. Well, that's the roof over your head. That's your retirement. It's your financial security.
Wants to get rich quick. Addiction is shopping at discount stores and bringing home. I mean, he has like 25 water bottles. You know what I mean? Refillable water bottles.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got more crap that he's probably brought home that you didn't even know about.
He has addiction of it's a good deal, so I've got to get it.
So this, you called to asking the question about money, and I'll pipe in, and then Dave, you've worked with these type of situations for 30 years. This doesn't sound like about money at all. Dave nailed it. This is about deception and lying. And
see, okay, I'll let him finish before I jump in. Hold on.
Really, this is about fantasy. And so
I have to respectfully disagree. Okay. Yes, he is deceiving and lying. Yes, he is. But really, it's about an unsolved issue in his life that he needs to dig up, unearth it, bring it to the surface. Okay. That's what it's about. Everything else is just the symptom of it. That would be like somebody looking at me and saying, well, the real problem is that Carrie just shops so much. I mean, she's just always buying stuff she doesn't need. The problem is that, she won't tell you she's really at the mall. No, that was not the problem. And it never was. The problem is I had bones in my closet that I needed to let out. That was the problem. And so long as, people are focusing on just, oh, well, she shops too much. She spends too much time at the mall. If I had been in a relationship, I guarantee it to you. I mean, like a marriage relationship, I had a boyfriend, but like I said, our finances weren't tight or anything. Okay. But like if I had been in a marriage relationship, I would have come home and told you all the crap that I bought. Absolutely not. I would not have told you. So if I'd been with you, okay, I would have made sure you didn't find out about it. But that's the surface. That's what you can see where the problem is. And this is why I say to any spouse, if you are with someone who has an addiction to spending, gambling, things that put your financial safety, your financial future on the line, do you want to stick around? Do you want to stick around for it? God help me, if I had been married, I would not have blamed my spouse after 15 years if they had said, I can't stick around for all this. Sometimes just the luck of the draw and who you marry, right?
if he hasn't, if there's not a history of infidelity also, or also a history of addiction.
And I can tell you a history of infidelity. In my case, that wasn't an issue. I could still be loyal to the guy I was dating and all that. I didn't mix the two. So we have to be careful that just because, someone has a shopping addiction doesn't mean they can't stay monogamous in a relationship, so to speak.
I actually did some research with a group. I called them resistant influentials, which was doctors and lawyers and presidents of things and preachers, folks who were real smart and accomplished in one area of their life, and they like to drag that perceived expertise all the way across. And they ended up with a wake of broken marriages and hurt people as they tried to take what they perceived as this all-knowing power and insight and wisdom into every facet of their life. The real question is, you can't make him stop. And you have this fantasy that it's going to get better, and this is what my marriage is going to look like. And
I guarantee you that it will only get worse. It only gets worse. Think of it like the closer you get. Let's just use me as an example. Okay, we're just going because that's the best example I know how to use. Okay, when my addiction first came out in my early 20s. All right, you could start seeing it. It starts to build and build and build. But then as I went into meeting with a psychiatrist, this is now in my mid-20s, we're solidly in my middle to late 20s, I think 27, 28, okay? As it got closer to the center of what was really eating at me, things fell apart drastically. I mean, like you would have said, bring her back to where she was in her early 20s when she was just a shopping addict. Because this is what I would tell a partner or a spouse, okay, that's dealing with someone who has this type of problem. The closer you get to the mother lode of what the actual problem is, the worse it's going to get. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder and harder, right? Just the spending and the lying about what you're spending, that's the easy part. That's easy. Now start going into psychiatric counseling. Now start dealing with stuff like that, where you may even need to be given medication to help get through your day. Okay, I had what I used to call a cocktail of prescription drugs. All right. The closer you get to what the actual issue is, it just starts to blow up. And I'll be totally honest, I would not at that time have wished anyone to be married to me at that time. It does not get easier. It will get worse and worse and worse.
And at the end of the day, you know this, but whining and nagging, complaining, reasoning, none of those behaviors will make him stop. He's got to decide it. And so I default back to a psychologist who I love, Terrence Real, who just says, you've got to draw a line. You have to have a, if you don't, this will happen statement. And then you've got to have done the math on the back end, both spiritually and emotionally and financially, to say, here's my line here.
Bingo. Snaps. Yeah. You have to decide, do you want to stick around for it? Can you stick around for it? Or are you, the one without the addiction, better off letting it go? I may be divorced today, but I'm happy to say that had nothing to do with my past issues in my 20s and early 30s. I was totally unrelated. But seriously, you as the spouse that's watching all this play out, you have to decide, how much money are you willing to lose? How much deception and what's being spent can you put up with? If I told you this was going to take even 5 years of sheer hell, do you want to walk through it? Well, that's if I told you it was going to take 10. It took me 15 years. 15 years it took me. That's how hard it was to get through my addiction and all the stuff and crap that had to be unearthed. Because you got to think of it kind of like, it's like the roller coaster ride. And can you, as the spouse that's watching it, do you want to go on this roller coaster ride? Because it's a hell of a ride. It really is. I, today, could not go on that ride with somebody that was in that frame of mind that I used to be in. I could not do it. And I've said it before. I don't have it in me because I know what it involves and I wouldn't wish it on my best friend. So she has to decide. And she may be better off also, if we want to talk finances, she may be better off, well, okay, he went $332,000 into debt. She found some more money. She may be, I mean, this sounds crappy, but she may be better off divorcing and convincing a judge why she's not responsible for that debt than she is if she sticks around and then the court says, well, you stayed around for it. So, that was your choice, so you're both responsible for it. Whereas if she leaves, divorces, she has a better leg to stand on to say, this was not tolerable to me. Does that make sense, I hope? In other words, her sticking around could cost her even more than it would be if she decided to divorce. Knowing knowing what's in front of this lady's path, knowing what he can potentially take her on, I would tell her to end the marriage. I would tell her to end it.
But the reality is this is not going to stop. And it clearly is not going to stop, especially, I mean, with the wounds of just coming over $200,000 or $300,000 paying back and then hopping right back in it. And so you're going to have to ask.
That was the second time, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And what I'm saying, exactly. And if she keeps staying and putting up with it, a court can say, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, okay? I'm obviously no lawyer. I don't know anything about the legal system in this regard. But I'm thinking if I were a judge and you put up with it the first time, you clean it all up, and then you put up with again, and you put up with again, and then you come to me at some point and you say, hey, don't make me responsible for this debt. I'm going to say, well, why didn't you, leave, on the first, second merry-go-round ride? I read that once, actually, years ago in some case. I don't remember what the case was. It's a long time ago. But it was something where the judge said, well, you kept putting up with it. So by your willingness to put up with it, that means it's not that you minded it, but you tolerate it enough that you're still responsible. I can't remember what the case was, but that's where I got the idea from.
So I keep hoping it's going to stop, and it's not. So I don't know what.
And you can hope and hope and hope.
So hope is a fantasy.
I think the thing that's missing out of this is you guys need someone in your life guiding you, and you don't have anybody. There's no one that he respects that is looking at him saying, you are a screw up.
Now, he doesn't need that. He needs a psychiatrist. And he might need to be given, as much as I don't like drugs, but I can tell you that it helped me for a period of years. Okay? I've been off of prescription drugs for, almost 20 years. I celebrate every year. Okay? He needs somebody that can help him in that area, and as well, a good buddy friend. But just to have someone say you're a screw up, somebody coming to me and saying, "God, Carrie, you are such a screw up," that would have done crap. Matter of fact, it might have made my situation already worse than what it was. I don't need to be told I'm a screw up. What I need somebody who has the knowledge and the skill to help me sort out what's going on in my head. I don't need someone to tell me that I'm a screw up. I already know that I was effed up. I knew this. I didn't need someone to tell me that. To a normal, healthy brain, you go, man, buddy, what you doing, okay? When you're dealing with somebody who has a psychological issues, deep addiction issues, stuff like that, telling them they're a screw up, tell an alcoholic they're a screw up and see where they wind up at, 2 hours later, right? Not saying that's your fault. Okay, we're each accountable for our own actions, but it's not going to help. You could have told me I was a screw up all you wanted. Okay.
You are messing up your life. Mm-hmm. And so a good counselor will gain his confidence, not...
A good counselor along with his private psychiatrist. He needs a private psychiatrist. Somebody who can dispense medication to help try to balance things out as he goes through this. And trust me, I'm not a pill person, obviously. Okay? I've been off of drugs like that for 20 years. But we're talking to get through what he's got to get through. Take maybe that combined with a good, marital counselor combined with a good church. There you go. You got the 3 legs.
Not with manipulation, but just with relationship, and earn the right to say that and say, you are screwing up your life and you're going to have to stop this. A good pastor in his...
I've said this before in other videos. It's not going to help. The pastor will make the wife feel better, like something's being accomplished. And, there's nothing wrong with church, and there's nothing wrong with the pastor at church to compliment. It should be used as a compliment. It should not be used as the Holy Grail.
His life, a senior friend in his life, that would sit down and guide the two of you. That also would give you some steps. I would never tell you in a 2-minute synopsis of your life that your marriage is over and you need to leave, unless he's hitting you and then you need to get out of there. But
I would tell you pretty much in 2 minutes the marriage is over and you need to leave. But I'm coming from a very different POV, point of view, okay? Because, see, I know what's in front, and it ain't pretty. If I can, I'd say, okay, I'll make from a kinder, gentler point. I'd say, okay, stick around. And just like they said, draw your line. When that line is crossed, call it done. But make darn sure you have a line. Know where that line is. Because I can pretty much guarantee you he's going to cross it.
No.
Short of that. But, what you're calling about is to...
Oh, and the other thing, too, is when he does go see his private psychiatrist, don't ask him questions when he gets home as to what they discussed. Okay? I did have a boyfriend at the time. He never asked questions, ever. Don't ask questions. If he wants to talk about what they discussed, great. If he doesn't, ignore it. It's between him and his psychiatrist. Don't get all into, okay, what'd you discuss? Nope. He has to unearth whatever the root cause is, and he will unearth it in time. And you have to be willing to accept that you might never even know. This is why I say, knowing what I know, I would not have blamed somebody for not wanting to be around me, to be married to me. I could not argue that.
You're just trying to confirm you're not crazy, and you're not. But you.
No, you are not crazy.
You do need. But I wouldn't
Okay.
just walk out. I would do some work on this.
Absolutely.
And go get some help. And if he won't go by yourself and get some guidance on how to draw the lines that John is talking about.
Okay. Well, I just actually found a counselor for myself because I don't even know how to approach this anymore.
Exactly.
Good.
So she's going to help me.
Good.
So, and I can't drag him to counseling. So
No, you can't. No, you cannot drag him to counseling. You know, I used to be dragged to family counseling. I say, oh, Jesus. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. Make up some crap, you know, just so we can get out of here. Yeah, that was family counseling. That was after my parents got divorced. Oh, God.
So maybe I should start with my own counseling and then.
That's fine. Or just tell him
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Have your own counseling. Know where your line in the sand is and stand on it. Be firm. But be prepared. Be prepared. Okay? He is going to put his addiction over you. Just be prepared for that.
He ought to go. I'm going to a counselor, and we ought to go to marriage counseling also. There's nothing wrong with doing both simultaneously, because you just need some guides, because both of you are, you just got a lot of trees around you, and it's hard to see the forest right now. And so you need someone to walk with you through this and to give you a thing of saying, okay, yeah, here's a map that is logical, a flow chart, if you will, that says if this continues at this point, I am done.
And it will continue, and you will be done. This is why I'm saying, it's really just a matter of how much do you want to stick around for.
But you can communicate that to him then, and you've communicated it once, one time, a long time ago, and then now you've got this one violation. But if it's continually, if there's a drumbeat of this is how this works, this is how this works, this is how that works, and because that's what happens with people, for instance, that are married to an alcoholic, they come to the end that they've done all they're willing to do, and then that relationship's over because of the alcoholism.
Look, I can tell you my shopping addiction, had I been married, my shopping addiction would have been more, not that it was more important, it had more control over me than if I had been married. It would have had more control over me than a spouse would. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And it would not have mattered who my spouse tried to hook me up with or anything else. The shopping addiction was going to have the greater control. That is just the way it is.
And that's what's going to happen here. You will come to the end, but you need to come there
with a guide. You've got to have somebody to go with.
She needs to go there knowing that she gave it everything she had, so that when she leaves and his life really falls apart, she doesn't blame herself because it's not her fault. Let me repeat that. She needs to get to the point. She needs to get to the point that she herself believes she did everything she could, so that when she leaves and his life falls into disrepair, she will not blame herself because it is not her fault. That's the point that she needs to get to. But she needs to get to that point before he takes everything about her self-esteem down into the gutter with him. See my point?
Guide and with a path of incremental and lots of communication to him to where he doesn't feel like, here's another example that is a parallel to this. When we have someone on our team out of our 1,000 folks that is not able to do the job or has some kind of a behavior issue in the way they're acting here at work, we don't just walk in and go, surprise, you're fired. We walk in and go, here's the things that you're doing wrong. Here's what you're going to have to not do. Here's what you're going to have to do.
And I totally understand, and they do the same thing. I'm a teacher. Okay, I'm a teacher. They do the same thing with teachers. District doesn't just walk in one day and say, well, you did a lousy job today. You're out of here. It doesn't work that way. Okay. They do a lot of mentoring and, what can we do to help you? Yada, yada. Okay. But here's the thing. Do you want to do all that in a relationship? Do you want to have to spend your time laying out a map for your spouse? Really? It's exhausting. It's exhausting to the I've called the innocent spouse. Okay. The innocent spouse. It's exhausting. Sorry, I was coughing. It's really draining. Is that where you as the innocent spouse want to spend your life earnings? You've only got so many, life hours. Is that where you want to burn your candle out at? This is why I say I don't blame a spouse for saying, I can't do this, or I can't do this anymore.
In order to be able to stay. And then the first time they're half a button off on one of those, we say, whoop, time out.
To me, that would just totally, and I understand what Dave is saying, and I even agree with it, that's, you're laying out your line in the sand, but I'll tell you this, that'll kill romance. There's just something, when you think about, what relationships are supposed to be, to me, that would just be a romance killer. Okay, our relationship is now almost like a parent to child. Anything that takes a relationship where it has to be parent to child and monitoring and behavior modifications. I mean, but I understand what he's saying. Yeah, she has to lay out. Look, I'm looking for this, and this. So I understand it, but it's just sad that it has to come to that because it's a real romance killer. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm speaking the truth.
We said, remember, you got to get back in the lane. And what we will fire you over is not a singular event unless it's a major issue, but we will fire you over a pattern that is heading the wrong direction, that we have clearly communicated to you. You are heading down a road that leaves here.
And you are putting other people's lives and safety in jeopardy. Okay, when what your spouse is doing is putting the lives of your children, putting the lives of yourself in jeopardy. I'm talking about they're taking an action that literally, you're draining the bank account. We're not going to be able to feed them and clothe them. We're not going to be able to put a roof over our head. That is potentially taking the lives and the safety of family members.
Now, do you want to stay on that road? And that's what you're telling him. But it's a pattern.
He gets to make the choice.
And then, in a sense, it's the natural consequences of him not dealing with this.
And Roxanne, put him in the guest room. Go back in your bedroom.
Like I said, I'm so glad John said that then, because that's in the video. Like I said, though, it's a romance killer. It is, and that's part of the problem. When you have to go through all of that with your spouse. Okay, and again, I'm not saying that, some people, can do it. They can walk that line, okay? But having to go through all that, what romance do you have left afterwards? Hey, it's just something to think about.
I've been dating this girl for about 9 months, and we kind of started talking about finances and money. And she has about $300,000 in debt. She got a
This is from a year ago. She has $300,000 in debt.
PhD in pharmacy. So she's a pharmacy manager making around $100,000 a year.
I'm sorry, that's for a $300,000 debt to make $100,000 a year. And we can go, but $100,000 a year sounds like a lot until you realize if you split it up between two people, it's basically 2 teacher salaries. Okay? It's basically what it is. I don't know. I just, So many people with PhDs in today's day and age, it just seems like the PhD doesn't hold the value that it used to hold as far as the debt to income potential value. Just my thought. And my parents have PhDs, all right? And but they got it when PhDs really paid off.
And, that was kind of a shock to me because I have no debt. I have good credit score. I have an emergency fund. I have enough money to actually purchase a home right now if I want to. I have a thriving business. And when we talked about it, I kind of said, okay, well, if in the future, because we're not going to share expenses or finances until we're married, I would be happy to support the household when we're married while you're having your income mostly go to the debt, so we can kind of...
Actually, her income wouldn't mostly go to debt. Her income would go to the debt because no matter how you divvy it up, this is just kind of the way I see it, no matter how you divvy it up, it's a pool of income, period. Okay? It's not really, well, you just pay for that debt and I'll pay for this debt. When you pool your money, we're all paying for it. Okay? So your entire debt, your entire income is going to go towards paying the debt. My entire income goes towards supporting us. There really isn't. It's kind of like, I look at it like this. It's kind of like, when you have kids, okay? If I marry someone with kids, it's impossible for me to say, well, I'm just going to pay for my stuff and your stuff because you can support the kids separately. I've never understood that logic. When people say, well, I can support my kids just fine. He or she doesn't need to do anything to support them. Yeah, they do. Okay. Because you join as one, and I've said it before, I'm not going to go out to eat and say, well, I'll pay for your meal and my meal, but you pay for the kids separately. I mean, that's just silly. So there really is no such thing as, splitting the income. Once you're a household, it is a pool of money, period.
Kind of work on it together. And that seemed like a good plan. And then a couple weeks later, she kind of brought up, the understanding of like, I have a brother that's special needs that, might need financial assistance in the future. Her parents are taking care of him right now. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what would my responsibility be? And then she kind of said, there might even be a chance that we might need to take care of my mom hypothetically, but probably not in the future financially. And I'm getting concerned because I feel like the expectations are quick.
You're getting concerned? I would already be concerned. As a matter of fact, have you ever seen that meme? What is it? It's Homer Simpson, and he's basically says he's out of here, and there's a big green hedge behind him. It's a meme if you do that, the GIFs and stuff. And he slowly backs out. That's what I'd be doing. Oh, first we're going to deal with your $300,000 student loan. Now you have a special needs brother. No fault to the brother, okay? But you have a special needs brother, and you're basically saying it's going to be the daughter's responsibility to take care of the special needs brother. And now you say, well, as long as we're on that, my student loan, my special needs brother, I got my mom too. I would be done. Okay? This was only a year ago. I would be done. The first concern is just that $300,000 student loan. I mean, before you even have anything going on, you got the student loan. And then you've got these other issues. Now, I would call it done. Unless there is some trust fund that they have set up where the trust fund would go to the married couple. That'd be the caller and his wife, that would fully take care of the needs of the mother and the brother. But that again is if they even want that responsibility. He may not want that responsibility. Okay, trust fund or no trust fund. But if there's not even that, and it's just, hey, you know what? Basically, when the parents can't do it anymore, guess what? The brother-in-law is yours. The mother-in-law is yours. No. And the $300,000 student loan is yours too. It's funny how debt to some extent can really, really kill the romance. All right. And this kid sounds young.
We kind of increasing on me to be able to provide, and I don't know.
Guess who the provider is going to be as she's dealing with her $300,000 student loan that will probably last a very long time, especially if you are charged with saving for the brother and the mother. Sounds like a song, the brother and the mother. It's going to all be on the guy. It's going to be on this caller. What is this caller's name? Mark in San Diego. It's going to be on him. Forget it.
And I'm like, it's causing anxiety for me in the relationship, basically.
No question.
When you
How to
marry
talk about
somebody,
it.
you marry their family too,
Yeah.
right? And so,
And when you divorce somebody, okay, in this particular case, this could be a cause for divorce. You are not expected to take care of the extended family. That's just at the expense of your own needs. That's not right. That could I could see that definitely causing divorce, even if you've married and you didn't know it, and then it came down to, oh, now you've got to take care of this person, now you got to take care of that person, and it's going to come at your own expense. Okay, that to me would be a cause for divorce.
I don't think it's out of bounds at all to take care of an aging parent. I don't think it's out of bounds at all to have a plan to take care of a special needs brother and sister. I think that's
Yeah, I agree that's beautiful too, but where's the plan?
beautiful. What you have to ask yourself is knowing that loving her comes with also helping support family.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a life you want to buy into? That's the choice.
Okay, the problem that I see is without clearly the family, the to-be, the possible in-laws, if their plan is that the son-in-law is going to be the financial supporter, all right, that's their plan. That's a pretty messed up plan. And I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Sure, aging parents, I understand that. I get it. I even get the special needs brother. But if the plan of the family is daughter, whoever you marry, that's our retirement plan, there's a problem.
Here, don't overcomplicate it.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's beautiful that she is that articulate up front.
Of course, she's articulate up front. She needs someone to get rid of that $300,000 student loan bill.
Really?
Yeah.
I read that a little differently.
Okay.
Did you read it differently than that, Mark? Did it feel presumptuous out of nowhere, or did you feel like it was an extension like John's saying? I could be reading it wrong.
I don't know. I mean,
Okay, hold
Yeah,
on.
you do.
difficult
Hang
for me
on.
because-
We're gonna dig into
I want to
this.
dig into this one. Yeah. Hang on the line, Mark. We're going to go to a break here. I'm going to put you on hold,
Yeah.
and when we get back.
I could be wrong.
Because there's some onions here. No.
No, I might be. I just wonder if he doesn't feel like, whoa, that was a little fast when you came at me with mom and the brother and John.
That's how I feel. I agree with Kid. Okay, John is kind of like, hold hands and walking into Never Land. Okay, going, oh well, this is wonderful. Take care of the aging parents, take care of the brother. Okay, my question: who's supposed to pay for all that, and at what cost? To what is this guy's name? What is the caller's name? Oh, I can't remember the caller's name. Okay, at what cost to this caller is this going to come at? His retirement cost now becomes who's going to take care of his retirement after he's paid for everybody. There's also something else to consider. And I'll say it now before I forget it. If he takes on, let's just say he goes ahead, he marries this girl. I'd like to know if they got married. And he takes on all this responsibility. If there should ever be a divorce, guess what? Guess who's going to pay for all the people that are dependent on him? He could find himself in that position. And then if he has kids also, hey, you're the breadwinner for the kids, you're the breadwinner for the wife, you're the breadwinner for the brother-in-law, the mother-in-law. All of a sudden, this guy finds very quickly that his whole life is basically being spent and lived to take care of another family at the expense of his own family. I think I applaud the young lady for, the girlfriend for saying, hey, these are the possible conditions. But me, I would run from it. The family shows a lack of planning. And that's the problem that I have. The family shows the in-laws show a lack of planning.
I want you to repeat your thought there, and that led us to what is he feeling? But you said, as we were going to break, what did you say?
Ultimately, it's not out of bounds for someone to say, hey, I've got a brother with special needs that I anticipate having to take care of down the road.
Right.
And by the way, I'm hoping that, or might be that one day one of my parents is going to have to come live with us if the other one were to pass away.
And the brother's special needs may have to come live with you. And depending upon that type of special needs, he could require care day in, day out. A lot of questions that have to be answered. And again, let us not forget the $300 student loan debt. This girl needs somebody to marry. I'm just calling it like it is.
And so I want to have space in our relationship for that because it's probably going to happen. I don't think that's out of bounds at all. In fact, I was saying I like the fact that she's this clear this soon, but something is a little bit off.
And I just felt like, Mark, maybe you called us because it, not to say that she's got any untoward ideas, but it felt like maybe it caught you off guard. And maybe you're like, ooh, how should I react to this? How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I guess what's difficult for me is it's kind of like I'm a planner. Like, I like to understand the expectation that's put on me. I'm good at, like, solving problems and minimizing risk. And to me, it's almost like, okay, so, like, if maybe I should already be starting a fund, you know, for the brother or for, I don't know, her extended family.
And this is why she wants to marry you. I'm not saying it's the only reason. She needs a husband. I can almost tell you that her family in some way or another is encouraging her to get married to somebody that can help this family out. That is the wrong reason to get married. I wouldn't get married to her until her student loan was cut down to $100,000. When the student loan is cut down to $100,000, she proves she can do that on her own, get motivated on her own. Okay, then I might consider it. I'm just saying. This to me would not be an attractive situation. And I think the biggest part is, you know, that $300,000 student loan. Who's going to work to pay that off? Actually, she's going to work to pay it off because he's going to pay for everybody else. Her family needs a meal ticket and he's it.
Family or something.
All right, so let me push a little bit more. Do you feel uncomfortable? Did you feel uncomfortable when she brought up her mom and helping out with her mom's finances? I understand the brother who cannot help himself. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
But what about the mom? Did that make you feel like, why should I have to? I'm just curious, and maybe you didn't, but I just want to know.
Yeah, so if I'm being truthful, the reason why is because she has kind of told me how her mom is kind of passive-aggressive and can be very controlling, and my interaction with her haven't been bad, but it hasn't been great. So I think obviously if I had more love and connection with her over time, then of course I'd want to help out a loved one.
All right, so now I'm glad I dug John. Yeah. Now how do you react?
Remember how I've told you guys, a lot of our financial situations are self-induced. We create them. We create them through the decisions we make. Now, does that mean we can't make decisions that help other people out financially? Of course not, you know. I got a little paid off place here, you know. When I remarry, guess what? His place, this place belongs to both of us. It sees as being just my place. So no, I will give the shirt off my back to somebody that I'm absolutely convinced loves me. Okay, but in this case, there's going to be so much dependency from the in-laws on this guy to carry the bill that any guy that marries into it, okay, he needs to see the red financial flags. They're all out there, and I commend her again for, you know, bringing it to the surface. But either way, even if she hadn't, and this came on later, it wouldn't surprise me if it wound up causing a divorce. And again, he's got to really look, what type of special needs are we talking about? Because you could have nursing special needs. Okay, so it's how many people do you want living under your roof that you're going to pay for? Because all of a sudden, you know, a good salary isn't all that good when you realize you're supporting two households, pretty much on your own.
React to that.
So here's what it sounds like. It sounds like you have a picture in your mind of what you getting married is going to look like.
Yeah.
And you can prep for that by getting all the funds in the right place, getting all the jeans in the right drawer, and getting all the cars in the right place in the garage. And what I would tell you is this. All relationships, 100% of them, whether you've been married 1 week or 50 years, all relationships are a risk.
It's true.
That you open yourself up to somebody could hurt you. And the beauty of a marriage is somebody says, I'm going to open up myself to you fully.
Okay, we're on John's little emotional ocean wave here. Just ride it with me, folks. Ride it with me.
And you are going to spend the rest of your life loving me. And
Or it may turn out that you're not meant for each other for the rest of your life. But in an ideal world, sure.
I'm going to do the same back to you. And the scary part about it is it only works if both people jump with both feet. We get a lot of flack here for telling people to share bank accounts, to talk every week about their schedules and things like that. No, I got to be me, bro. Dude, it's not going to work. You both got to be all in. And that means you have to say, I'm going to plan, I'm going to dream, but we're going to plan and dream together.
And the best plans and or dreams together don't always work out.
And that is a skill set that you don't have, and that's okay. Very few people have that going into marriage. But you just have to decide you want to learn that.
But
why do I feel like John's leading him off the cliff and telling him to jump? Really? It's like, just go ahead, plan, dream. It's almost like we're going down the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole here, okay? Because trust me, when he's paying, when this, is it Mark? Yeah, Mark. When Mark in San Diego is paying for all this stuff, trust me, he ain't going to be sitting thinking about dreaming and planning. Reality is going to smack him square in the face. And this is why I say our financial issues, our concerns, they are self-induced. Most of them are self-induced. Okay? It's going to be a very different picture, in my opinion, if he finds out he's living with the in-laws. I mean, like, they all basically just move in.
I don't feel right about this. So, John, I want you to
keep
going. I think you're.
Neither do I. Thank you, Ken. Put some sense into this.
Okay, planning for the brother. I don't think you're okay. I don't think you've bought into the fact that you even need to support mom. And I, quite frankly, sitting here go, I'm not sure I'm signing up for that. Am I on to something? Yeah. So here's the deal. Are you ready?
I would agree with that. If I had to pick who I was going to support, it would be the brother.
To marry this woman, or are you just talking about it?
I think I'm ready. I mean, I love her and I want to marry her, and I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Okay, I don't want someone to marry me under that condition. Don't marry me with an I don't know. I really love her. I think I'm ready. I kind of love her. Well, I really just don't know. No.
No, you don't. Because let me put it this way.
No.
If she had not brought up taking care of mom, how would you have answered that question? Come on, man.
I think I would have answered it a little bit differently. I think I need to be able to have the conversation just with her in a more.
I think so too. John, I'm going to throw it back to you because I've appreciated everything you said.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has to put himself out there.
No, he doesn't have to. Here's the thing.
I think he's got to tell her. Okay, so here's what I think, Mark. I think, John, I'm going to pass it back to you. I would like to see him sit down with her and go, okay, here's what I'm feeling about this.
Yes.
I'd like to know your mom's finances. I want to know the whole picture. If we're talking about you're expecting me to maybe help, I want to know the whole enchilada. What's mama's finance situation?
See, that's what I was talking about earlier. Are they coming with anything? You know, I will forgive the brother to some extent, okay? But have they set up a trust for him, for someone to care for him, okay? I will tell you, I saw a documentary, without getting too far off track here, okay? I saw a documentary, probably, I don't know, in the last year. And it was a gal who had and I won't say severely autistic, okay? But she had a somewhat autistic brother. And she committed for life that she would take care of him no matter what. And I mean, we're talking sharp, attractive young lady, very well put together, fully employed, yada, yada. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, that's a situation I could deal with. Okay. If I met a guy and, he's like, hey, you know what? I come with my brother. My brother has a special needs. He is a part of me. You marry me, he comes with me. He is a part of the family. He needs to have his own room. If I go in knowing that and I understand that situation and, that's different. I could actually overlook that. I really have a problem with a parent who thinks that the retirement plan is the kids and even worse, who the kids marry. All right. Those are not retirement plans. And this is how I was raised. I was raised by both parents, making it very, very clear. Parents do not rely on their children for retirement. Parents, and I was directly raised on this. My parents modeled it. My mom, my dad, my stepmom, my stepdad, because my parents, divorced or remarried. I was very, very fortunate to see this modeled on both sides, because I swear it's what saved my hiney in retiring, in 12 years. I constantly saw it in me. Okay. You don't go to your family members. You don't go to your children for your retirement plan. If this mother thinks that her daughter, okay, and indirectly her son-in-law, or maybe even more directly, is supposed to be her retirement plan, that's a problem. That's a problem. The brother really isn't so much.
And see what the risk would be, and how old is mama,
right.
And can mama get her act in gear, and I'll support mom if she does this, and this, and she needs a place to stay, yes. But as far as letting her run up debt and be irresponsible with money, when I don't agree with that, I'm not buying into that. I guess, Mark, that's what I'm feeling underneath the surface. Am I right?
Well, I was going to actually ask you that with what you just said, 'cause I completely agree. Isn't it kind of like, just in general, if I'm lending money to family members or that I'm crossing that threshold, that is kind of my responsibility to have an understanding of
yeah, but we don't want you to lend.
You don't lend money. You give it. This is not money you're going to get back. This is not money you're going to get back. There is no such thing as I'm lending you money, especially when it comes to family. I don't lend money. I just don't. If I give you money, it's yours.
Yeah. So here's where you got to be real careful, Mark. My guess is, and I could be out to lunch, your girlfriend / future fiance / future wife made a blanket statement of some sort that said, come hell or high water, I'm going to take care of my mom. I need you to know that about me. I'm a kid who's not going to let my mom be on the street. And in your mind, you're a planner. And you went to, okay, well, what's the budget for that going to be? And what's her 401k look like, right?
She probably doesn't have
one.
one.
What ends up happening is you have a picture of take care of mom, which is this is a problem to solve. And she has a picture of I'm going to take care of mom, which is a person to love. And what happens is y'all are having a fight that shouldn't have to happen because you're having two separate conversations. So I enter that conversation and say, I love the fact that I love a woman who wants to take care of her mom.
Yeah.
In my head, here's what this looks like. I start thinking about how much is this going to cost? Are we going to have space? We have to buy a different house. Are we going to have to move communities? Are we get all those different nuts and bolts? And now you're in a very different conversation, which isn't, are we going to love mom? It is, how are we going to do this?
Okay, and what happens if the mother has no assets? What happens if the mother's renting? She has no assets whatsoever. She has no 401k. Not saying you're taking on dead weight, so to speak, but she has spent her life, going on cruises and doing her fun stuff, and now she needs someone to take care of her retirement. Are you going to take that on? Because let's not forget, he's going to have his own family, most likely at some point, okay, if he wants kids and stuff. You're making a plan. And I guess the other thing I would say is, how willing is the mother to sit down and discuss this? Well, let's discuss. What assets do you have? How do we make the family assets work? If it's just, hey, David or Mark, I keep wanting to call him David. If it's just, hey, Mark, you know what? You're going to be the banker on this. Mark's going to find himself in over his head. He's going to find himself over his head. And then God help him, let's say his wife decides she wants to be a stay-at-home mother. Oh yeah, plenty of women with college degrees, unpaid for, student loan debt, right? And she decides, well, I just want to stay home now and raise the kids. So basically, Mark is supposed to be the financial miracle worker. I just see concerns with this, especially if he's not close to this mother. If he's really not close to the mom, a relationship really hasn't been built. It's just what I would look at.
And you can say, I am all about loving you, all about honoring your mom. I'm not in the business of loaning people money.
Yep.
They can live in a room in my house. We can get a mother-in-law suite on top of the garage. Here is a core principle of mine. And if she comes back and says, we're going to loan our money to our family, now you've got a values issue, right? That's less of a mathematical formula issue or a risk issue. That is no, I loan money. I don't loan money. And now you're talking about future issues in your marriage, which is why you date, right? Is this making sense?
And what's the number one reason? One of the number one reasons that people divorce? Money issues. He's going to have money issues, and he doesn't even have his own kids yet, or his own kids yet.
Yeah, because I know why she reacted this way, because out of a moment of emotion, she said, I know that you're big on not loaning money. So she is aware of my general values and boundaries.
All right. I think we have enough of that. Wow. All right, people. Well, I think I kind of wish Dave had been in on this call. This would have been one of those calls I'd like to hear Ramsey's take. I have a feeling, though, that Ramsey would have been more with John and said, well, just hold her hand and plan this together. Make sure you combine all your finances. Whereas, maybe I'm a little bit more on the pessimistic side, but I'm just looking at it thinking to myself, I could see him literally becoming the financial money tree. Okay. And it could come at a great cost to him. And we're not just talking in terms of finances, okay? It's about more than just money. It's where the emotion is all invested as well, okay? If he wants his own kids and he's already got a mother-in-law to take care of, a brother, a wife, there are just a lot of questions that I think need to be answered. But if I were him, before he jumps into this marriage, it's easy to say, oh yes, it'll be just fine and I'll take it all on, until you actually get it into the role itself.
I live, of course, in New York City. I'm 34 years old. I'm a social worker, and I have a son.
Right off the bat, social worker. Those public service jobs, folks. I couldn't get myself out of my $110,000 student loan debt. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it as a teacher. And don't forget, as always, the videos in the description, in case you don't want to hear all my yammering in between. Okay, so it sounds like she's a social worker, which we know pays very poorly, again, in relation to the amount of education and debt you have to take. Whew. And also, she has one son.
I'm 6 years old. Right now, I only have one stream of income, and I have roughly around $300,000 worth of debt. This is also including student loans, credit cards, etc.
Wow. She might give my shopaholic spending addiction a run for its money. In my 20s, of course. Okay, so single mom, social worker, a 6-year-old. My question is, how did the debt accrue?
And I'm trying to prioritize what to focus on first. It's bringing on a lot of anxiety.
I would have had a lot of anxiety well before it got to 300,000.
Do make about 60, I believe 65. I got a raise today, actually. And so I'm just trying to figure out how I can be debt-free in a short amount of time, take care of, my...
Oh, okay. She wants to be debt-free in a short amount of time. Okay. Basically, she and I make the same income. We're probably not even $2,000 apart. Okay. So $2,000 a year apart. I can tell you, she has a house. She's purchased a house, $300,000 house. Now, think about how long it takes the average person to pay off a $300,000 house. That'll give you an idea as to the short amount of time. Sometimes I am amazed when people call in, and for whatever reason, I know in Dave Ramsey's world of math, it can all be done in 3, 4, 5 years. God bless him, okay? But if you really think about a lot of these student loan debt, a lot of these student loan bills, these are houses. And people are wanting to call in saying, well, how can I get rid of my house in 5 years? Well, if everybody knew that, then everyone who had a $300,000 house could knock it out in 5 years, right? It's like the lady who called in, I did a reaction to a little while back, and she has a $369,000 Parent Plus loan. She's trying to figure out how to pay it off, and I'm thinking, you bought a house. You bought a house without the house. When you start racking up debt like that, I mean, this is 3 of my condos, okay? She and I basically make the same. It is not logical for me to say, well, I want to pay this off really fast. How can I do it? some things can't be done fast, short of winning the lottery, short of gaining a really large inheritance where you can just wipe that out. And she's a social worker, so I can tell you the pay rate was next to nothing. Okay? Not enough to be life-changing. So what she's really asking is how can she pay off a $300,000 house? It's different when you look at it in a different perspective like that, isn't it? When you look at it and you go, oh man, you're right. That's a house. It's a, it's a condo. Like my condo is $100,000. It's a condo. It's 3 condos. Paying it off quick, not going to happen. Not on the incomes that we are on. Oh, and by the way, as you may know if you're following, okay, I became debt-free not too long ago. I still couldn't pay this off fast. There is no fast for this.
My son had some savings. I can't save for anything. And just live comfortably. That's the biggest thing for me.
I'm going to back that up for just a sec.
I can't save for anything. And just live comfortably. That's the
one more
biggest
time.
thing. My son had some savings. I can't save for anything. And just live comfortably.
She said something about her son had something, okay? But I think she's saying, I can't save for anything. Well, but she can definitely spend it. This $300,000 debt. I'd like to know how much of it was for school. At least $100,000. Which, if that's the case, then she too has a shopping problem with $200,000.
It's the biggest thing for me. I did file for bankruptcy in 2018. And I was fine until I recently moved this year. And the credit card debt stacked up.
Wait. She filed for bankruptcy in 2018 and she's $300,000 in debt. Okay. All right. I can tell you what part of it is. Student loans. You can't go bankrupt on student loans. So I'm definitely going to put part of it at student loans. She could have wiped out all the other credit cards and stuff. But that can't possibly be a $300,000 student loan bill. I mean, it could. Wow. Now, if half of that was student loan, okay, let's just play. Okay, let's play. Make believe, okay? Say half of that is student loans, $150,000. She filed for bankruptcy in 2018. You mean to tell me she ran up $150,000, 18, 19, 21, 2. In 5 years, she ran up another $150,000 in credit. If we're assuming, hopefully she'll tell us, whatever portion of that is student loans that she could not file bankrupt on, yeah, this chick has a spending problem. Big time spending problem. And some of you are probably wondering, how can she just run up debt again right after bankruptcy? As far as how does she get the credit? Because bankruptcy, even though they say it will destroy your credit, it doesn't. It hurts it for a while, but not in quite the way that people think. It's like a momentary, maybe 2-3 year delay. It's not the 7 year that people think. I mean, yeah, it's on your report for 7 years, but it's not going to hold you back. So the credit cards that this woman has, these are now high-risk credit cards. So the interest here is really bad. So I guarantee you she's paying interest on the worst credit cards possible.
Because of the move, and I had some medical issues. So, this year has been really tough. And now I'm struggling, kind of.
No, we're not kind of struggling, honey. We are struggling. You're making my income with 3 of my condos. You have to learn, folks, not to mince words when it comes to money. We try to use appropriate words. I forgot what's the word called. Okay, euphemisms, right? So something like, euphemisms. We try to use one word means something else. No, you're not kind of. You are struggling.
Well, we're glad you called. That's first step. I feel like the way you're describing that, you've had your I've had it moment. Is that right?
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
Shopping addiction.
You're done with this debt. You're ready for something new.
Totally. I just want to live comfortable. I want my son to have his savings.
Where did you move from?
Well, I'm actually from New York City, but I moved from a studio apartment to a 2-bedroom co-op building.
So you're broke and deeply in debt, and you increased your rent.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
And she says it so casually. Yes, I did. Yep, I'm broke. Ramsey was saying, I'm broke, I'm deeply in debt. Again, I'll bring it up. You ever notice how people who are deeply in debt seem so casual about it? they're casual about it because they've been in that debt for so long that their response to it is, like I've said before, very laissez-faire, very nonchalant. Oh, well, I had a one place and then I moved into a 2-bedroom co-op. So you're broke and deeply in debt and you increased your rent. Oh, yes, I did.
But we needed the space.
The kid is 6 years old. The kid is 6 years old. Okay? Don't use him as the excuse as to why you're going further in debt. I mean, you just filed bankruptcy 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years, probably not even 5 years ago, especially if you filed like in late 2018. And you are this far in debt. So a lot of it had to be student loans. But then the question becomes all the new credit card debt. And guess what? You can't file bankrupt for 10 more years. Can't do it. So even the new credit card debt. And like I said, these are high-risk credit cards. This is a bad situation.
But you're broken deeply in debt and you can't breathe.
Yeah.
Oh, and you ran up credit card debt to do that too.
As of this summer, yes.
Yeah.
It went up.
And these are the worst of the worst credit cards.
Okay, let's...
And we're supposed to feel badly for her? I feel badly that she didn't make better decisions, especially considering there's a child, at least during my god-awful days. I didn't have a child to take care of. I was hard enough to take care of myself. But this is, I don't know. I think sometimes people spend it because when they're in the moment, it's true. You don't care. You don't care. To keep digging yourself into a hole, I can speak from experience, there's a part of you that just doesn't care anymore. So you shouldn't do it, but you do it anyways because you're past the point of caring.
Back out for a second. I can help you, all right, but this is a math problem at its core.
Yeah.
And there's two pieces of information here. There's your income and there's your debt load. And
no way I could support this on my debt load. And no way would I ever expect to find a partner if I had this much debt. I wouldn't be so lucky.
around here we call that the shovel and the hole. You have a very large hole and a medium-sized to small shovel.
I don't, not even medium size. I don't even have kids, and I make what she makes basically, and I couldn't pull it off. No, she has a teaspoon of a shovel.
Agreed?
Agree.
Thus the anxiety. Thus the stress.
But it's brought on you. If I look at my financial past, who brought on that stress? I did. What brought on that stress? The way I spent. Why did I spend the way I did? God knows. Low self-esteem, denial, bad relationships, whatever. And there's a myriad of excuses.
The overwhelming feeling, the sense of hopelessness, the sense I'm going to be stuck here forever. I can't breathe.
And that sense of hopelessness has you spending more and more. It's kind of like when people say, how do people keep having kids when they can't afford the kids they already have? It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, how do they keep spending all this money and getting further and further into debt when they already know they're in debt? They're already not sleeping.
Breathe. I don't see a way out. I've been there. I know how it feels. Okay? So you have a pretty radical situation, a very difficult situation that you find yourself in with the math.
That she did to herself. She must take ownership of that.
Would you agree with that too?
Yes, definitely.
The sad news is, and we love you enough to tell you the truth, kiddo. The sad news is radical, difficult situations require radical
difficult solutions. Yes, thank you. Snaps for me, snaps for me.
And the only way to get out of this highly toxic math.
2 jobs. She's a social worker. She's not going to increase her income that much. Okay? She's a social worker with a child. And she's bought a house that she can't live in. I'm telling you, 2 jobs. As she has relatives, bribe them, do whatever to see if they can kick in for childcare for the 6-year-old. 2 jobs. Do we see how when we hurt ourselves financially, it's like a drug. You know, shopping, because I've been there, it's like a drug, okay? The high is really high, but just for that moment. And then when you come back to reality, the low is low, and every low gets lower and lower. And every high, for you to get that high, you have to do more and more of the same negative action. Part of the reason she's back in this situation is she never solved what got her into the situation to begin with. This is why I tell you, as I have said on other videos, when it comes to relationships and debt and all of that stuff, somebody else can't fix it. Only the person that's doing the spending can fix it. Other people can give support. I'll drive you to your, I'll drive you to your meetings for, excuse me, for overspending, shopaholics. I will clear my calendar to give you that support and take you there. All you got to do is show up. I'll have dinner ready for you when you come back. You can, a supporting person can do the external things, but the internal stuff, getting over the emotions of it and all of that, that can only be done by the person who's experiencing the emotion that's causing the hurt and pain to not just themselves, but other people, because her son's paying a price for this. You know, she may not think of it that way, but he is. He has a mom who can't control her spending, yet wants the world.
Is to do some bizarre things that are going to be very uncomfortable in the short term. You don't get an option. There's no option on the table where you get to do three things. Make $65,000 a year, have a wonderful life, and live in Manhattan.
Thank you. Yeah, not going to happen. Not happening. And don't come to Tampa, because trust me, it's not that much better.
These three things, and get rid of $300,000 worth of debt. These things don't work in the same puzzle.
Remember when you were a kid and they had that toy that you kind of pulled apart? It was in the primary colors of red, yellow, blue, and you pulled it apart and it shut tight again, and you had to fit the pieces to go inside of it, and then you pull it apart, shake out the pieces, okay? People have got to start thinking of student loans like a mortgage. The people need to stop looking at it like a student loan. You have purchased a mortgage. She bought a house she can't afford, and now she's trying to figure out how to get out of it. Problem is, you can't file bankruptcy again. You can't file bankruptcy on the student loan. And I'm sorry, but this tea drinker, I want to know how much of that is student loan. It's $150,000 if it's a dime.
They don't fit together.
Right.
Okay? So something's going to give. Something's going to give. You're going to give up the cool, cozy, wonderful life. You're going to do some crazy things to increase your income.
This ain't no cool, cozy, wonderful life right now, but I think we know what Ramsey means by that.
You're not going to live in Manhattan. I don't know. But you can't do what you're doing right now. It's not going to work in the next 2 decades.
Yeah, like I said, she bought a house, and she can't do what she's doing right now and keep spending what she's spending right now. Even if she came to a total freeze, the only thing she spent was on medical, food, housing, clothes for the kids. I will tell you this. You know, when I was the last 3 years, well, I have seriously done everything I could to become debt free. I literally wore clothes till there were holes in them. Literally, I could take a finger and, well, there's a hole in the dress, but the hole was covered by the way the dress moved, so I kept wearing the dress. I literally just replaced my gym bag about a week ago. But why? I had drugged that thing around for 2 years, and literally, the inside mesh pocket, that you put your toiletries and stuff in, the inside mesh had gone to pot. The zipper was getting caught inside the mesh, and then the stitching around the mesh had gone to pot. I mean, I wear things out until it has to be replaced.
You're still going to be in debt. Because I can back this out and just tell you, if you had zero debt, living in Manhattan with a child as a single mom on $65,000 is no picnic.
No, you couldn't do it. Yeah. I don't see how anyone could do that. And like you said, that's assuming that you have no debt, one child, okay? Living in Manhattan, $65,000 is probably like making $30,000, $40,000 at best in Tampa.
Zero debt, that's no picnic.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed?
Agree.
And you got $300,000 sitting on top of your head.
And she has a spending problem. Guaranteed, she has a spending problem that needs to be addressed.
And it ain't going away unless you make it go away. So I wish I didn't. So I think you're going to pick your pain, or it's going to pick you. You're going to pick your pain. You're going to say, all right, we are going to live in a different situation for a short period of time, and it's going to be very uncomfortable for me and my child. And
he says short period of time. No, I'm thinking years. A decade is not a short period of time. You have to look at it as you just bought a house. This is not a short period of time. This is, maybe a 15-year reboot. Okay, if someone said to me, Carrie, you just purchased this house, you've got a 6-year-old child, okay, get out of it as fast as you can. A short period of time pain is stuff like, I need to make an expensive car repair, and it came to $2,000, and we got to eat beans and rice for 90 days while I pay off the $2,000. That's a short period of time. I'll even take a short period of time, a year. I'll even take a year for a short period of time. When you're talking $300,000 house with student loan, that's it's collecting interest on the interest. It's not a short period of time. We can't fool ourselves and say, this will just be a short period of time. It's a lifestyle revamp.
And the hours I'm going to work are going to be freaking ridiculous so that we can have a great life later. We're going to live like no one else so that later we can live and give like no one else.
And I'm willing to bet that with her she has a social service type degree. I'm willing to bet that part of that student loan was for a master's. Because if you want to start breaking into the $60,000, $70,000 range in social services and stuff, you typically need a master's for that. So I'm willing to bet you there's that liberal arts master's degree in there for social service. And then you get into it and you realize it really just doesn't pay crap. Public service. People don't go to graduate school for public service. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Unless you can pay the whole thing off and you don't have to take out a student loan. But even when you pay the whole thing off, don't expect to be able to repay your savings account. So you drop $20,000 into it, you may or may not ever be able to recoup that. Public service doesn't pay well.
Or you're going to choose to stay exactly where you are, and this stuff's going to come crashing down on you.
Because it's already crashing down. It's already down. It fell a while ago.
Because this math does not work. It's not sustainable.
Shani,
You can't pay for a co-op in Manhattan on $65K and service $300,000. You can't even pay the payments.
If anybody knows anything about co-ops in Manhattan or in general, could you maybe leave something in the comments and educate us? I don't know much about co-ops. All I know, if I'm correct, is a bunch of people go into a place and own it together. That's really all I know.
And eat.
Well, so the maintenance fee, so I do live in the Bronx. The borough is the Bronx. And I had took out a loan because it was $33,000. So it's like pretty much it helps middle income individuals with a co-op. And so I put a little bit down and I'm paying it off slowly. I think I have like 7 years to pay off the loan that they gave me.
Okay, that's just for that loan? That's just for that loan? Doesn't address the other part, the $300,000. Let's say, okay, fine. So we take the $300,000, we knock off 7. Okay, knock off $7K off of that. Okay. Oh, $293,000. Oh, that's a much better deal.
And then, of course, I have my car note, credit card debt, and student loans.
And don't forget, she just filed bankruptcy in 2018. That debt went right back up.
Student loans as well.
You bought the co-op?
Yeah, so I bought the co-op.
And you have a 7-year loan on it?
Yeah, well, I can pay it off at any time, but I put a down payment on it. It's like a program that helps you pretty much.
Are you telling me you're going to have the co-op paid off in 7 years?
They add on the extra from the loan to the maintenance fee. Yeah.
So she bought part of a building. I take it. This is when I wish I had, people who knew. Okay, if anybody knows, please fill us in. Acquiring tea drinkers want to know. So it sounds like she bought a co-op, a residential place, 7 years. This woman shouldn't be buying anything.
Yeah, but I mean, what happens at the end of 7 years? You got to go get a mortgage, right?
It is pretty much a mortgage. I am a homeowner for that co-op. That particular.
Oh, jeez. Oh, she's a homeowner. No, she's not. I don't really consider that home ownership. I could be wrong. Maybe it is home ownership. It just I don't know enough about co-ops to really understand this.
And you have it on a 7-year payout in the Bronx.
I calculated it, and I believe that's how long it's gonna take me to pay off that loan that they gave me to cover the other half that I owe.
So what was the price?
Altogether, that co-op apartment was $33,750.
That was the price to buy a co-op in the Bronx?
Yes.
I am so confused.
I'm confused too, and I think I'm intelligent. I'm just like I'm trying to keep the facts straight here, make sure I understand it.
I would have said 3.3 million.
Yeah, thank you. But it is a co-op, so technically it could be worth that, and you get a bunch of people to buy into it. I sure as hell hope this wasn't a timeshare she bought in the Bronx. So something just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
How did you get it for $33,000? Are you sure?
Yeah, so it's pretty much, like I said, it's a program in New York City that helps the middle income individuals, and they pretty much assist. So you have to come up with the whole amount, and if you can't come up with the whole amount, then you can go on a payment plan, and then they'll add it to your maintenance fee. It's called a maintenance fee, aka rent.
This is the most heavenly program I've ever heard of, where you can buy a co-op in the Bronx for $33,000. My mind is blown.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. If that's true, yes.
I had no idea that this is even possible or existed. I am still in shock and awe. So anyway, I guess I'll set that.
I'd like to know the conditions of it as well.
That aside, if you got that deal, I'll let it rest. I have never heard of that, and it's mind-blowing, and it has nothing to do with real estate values in the area. Nothing to do with that whatsoever. You can't buy that in anywhere in America, much less the freaking borough of New York, one of the 18 boroughs of New York City. Not a chance. Okay, so, all right, I'll let that rest. We still have the $300,000 in debt, and you still have a problem.
And I'm worried, when you first picked up, there's a lot of remorse in your voice. There's a lot of angst. So I thought you had the I had it moment.
No,
but I'm a little worried that the bleeding's still going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you cut up your credit cards yet?
No. And even if she says she is going to or has, no, she's not. She's too addicted to the spending life.
Have you
into this, yeah.
I mean, $300,000, that's a terrifying amount on that income.
Okay, so Sharnice, I don't want us to run out of time. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you on hold. Laura's going to pick up. We're going to put you through Financial Peace University.
Okay, dang, I would like that call to have gone further, because we still don't know what portion of that is student loan. I'm telling you, $150,000. If it's a dime, that's going to be a portion that's on student loan. If it's a dime, it's going to be $150,000. She has a shopping problem, severely, and I'm not going to judge. I've made too many mistakes, but she is 3 times the debt that I was in. And basically, like I said at the beginning, we pretty much make the same thing.